What is it you love most about Gracie?
She always knows what she wants.
She's unapologetic.
This month on Movie Night Extravaganza, we're covering many of the biggest Oscar nominees. Most of these entries are nominated for Best Picture. They all have various awards they're nominated for. Tonight we're doing something a bit different, and looking at a film that was almost completely snubbed from the Oscars. This is despite being nominated for all the Critics' Choice Awards, 5 of the Golden Globes, including Best Picture, Musical, or Comedy. A weird one since I'd argue it's neither a musical or comedy. It is an Academy Award-nominated film for Best Original Screenplay, and Sammy Birch and her husband, Alex Mechanic, who have written and co-directed several short films but never written a feature until now, definitely deserve that at least. But it was kept out of all the other categories. I'm talking about Todd Haynes' May December. The film stars Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore.
The script always ended at graduation. It was always, I think, described as two generals kind of meeting on the battlefield in white.
That's beautiful, wasn't it?
It was.
And it's based on the story of Mary Kay Descharnoux, the teacher who was arrested and convicted for sleeping with her 6th grade student, who impregnated her, and she had his daughter while awaiting sentencing. She was in prison for 3 months and no contact with the kid for life. But then she was caught in the car with the kid, again, breaking her plea agreement and getting sentenced for another 7.5 years. She had another daughter of his while in prison. They then got married and lived as a family until they separated 1 year before her death in 2020.
Traditionally, a May-December relationship is an older person and a younger person, and this is definitely a subversive use of the term. I wanted to set that tone on the title page, that this is subversive.
It's a very human story.
The idea of getting a look closer at the tabloid culture of the 90s and how it has seamlessly transitioned into this true crime frenzy.
However, May December is not an exact adaptation of the story, but is rather loosely based on it and works as a meta-film. Natalie Portman plays a fictional TV actress named Elizabeth Berry, who arrives in Savannah to meet and research the Atherton-Yo family. Gracie Atherton, played by Julianne Moore, is the Mary Kay character.
I have a lot of questions for both of you, but please tell me if this is not the best time.
It's as good a time as any.
Great. Thank you. I wanted to ask you about the box package. What about it? I mean, is that a routine occurrence?
I mean, it's a lot less than it used to be.
Elizabeth is working on a movie where she's going to play Gracie, and as a solid method actress, is going around to all the locations where the illicit affair occurred. I think it's good that in this case, they scrapped the idea that Gracie was the kid Joe's teacher and instead have her working above him at a pet store. Joe is a schoolmate of Gracie's first son, Georgie, making them the same age. Elizabeth is also the same age as Joe. Throughout this movie, we have conversations about the purpose of movies like this.
For what? For the movie. So people can see it and understand more. And maybe it's more easy for you. For me. For us.
Dramatizing real-life scandals and affairs and the psychological impacts that can have. Of course, just the presence of Elizabeth prying into their lives as a constant presence with an agenda of her own is enough to make some of the fiction that this family has created to tamp down their dysfunction and to make their story more livable start to unravel.
What if I wasn't ready to be making those kinds of decisions? Then what? Because the kids. What would that mean?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying, what if I was too young?
As Elizabeth pushes buttons and interviews everyone from Gracie's ex-husband and first family to her press-hungry lawyer to her neighbors. Elizabeth is also creating fictions of her own. She has a fiance, but is also willing to use her sexuality both on the film's director and on an unwitting Joe. But in some ways, that's also us as an audience, right? We sit in judgment of these tabloid scandals while also devouring them, consuming the sexualized stories.
Absolutely. I think there's like a very active participant, they're very actively participating as an audience member.
These stories are much more complicated and require far more gray area than Hollywood or their tabloids can really provide. And in the end, each of these one-dimensional tabloid stories are somebody's three-dimensional lives.
It's a little more complicated than that.
You're going to do what you're going to do. But stories like these.
Stories? Stories?
You know what I mean. Instances
This is-
of severely traumatic beginnings.
This isn't the story! This is my fucking life!
Like all of us, I'd assume, Gracie is somebody different to each person in her life. She has a complicated relationship with her first family, especially her first son, Georgie, who is permanently traumatized by it. But Joe is still devoted to her, as are their 3 children. She is a good neighbor, and her neighbors are more protective than you might think. Some of this, like Joe's devotion, is perhaps built on a fictional foundation, but is a tangible part of her life. We're also reminded about how dishonest the search for a motive could be in stories like this. At one point, Georgie claims her mother was sexually abused by her brothers and offers to provide illusory evidence to back that up. This is in exchange for a job working on the film.
I read about this job of music supervisor.
Yeah.
I could do this job. Pick out songs for movies? I'd pick great songs.
But easy answers are not always true answers. All of this, I think, points to how dishonest and how complicated the entire process of simplifying somebody's life for the media can be.
I hope you didn't think that disgusting brother thing was real. What? Disgusting. I don't know what he's doing telling you these things. He told you? I talk to Georgie every day.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Yabiga. A Balkan Rockiest spirit, go to yabiga.com to order a bottle tonight. Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, and which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. We also have a new Discord and a Letterboxd HQ account, so those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Links are in the description. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends has a new split LP with Lung, Adult Prom, available now on Bandcamp. Kristina Oakes is streaming on Twitch at Cosmopolitics, twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics. Also recently joined YouTube, she's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Cosmopolitics. Send her some subs on Twitch, and send her a coffee. This month for the Oscars, Conan and Kristina are co-producers. We will have both show and after-party content that they've produced, so follow along. In the Discord, as well as watch parties on Mondays in the Discord. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Katie Baldassaro is an actress, director, and writer who co-wrote and directed and also starred in Girl in the Basement, along with appearing in quite a few horror movies. You can also catch her voice acting in the scripted podcast series, The Starwell Foundation, an audio drama set in the City of Superheroes, wherever podcasts are listened to, and her new film podcast, What If I Don't Like It? New episodes bi-monthly. Lauren Chouinard is a writer and social media strategist who writes film reviews for Merry Go Round magazine and is on Letterboxd's Lonely Goat Herd. I, of course, am your host, Forrest Miller. I don't even have anything funny to say. This is a movie about a pet store pedophile, and it was snubbed.
Just a statement of facts, but you're not wrong.
What am I going to say to joke around? Like, there's no. I guess the one I can come up with off the top of my head is I could be the pet shop owner that did not deserve that bad media, but somehow kept the fucking clipping that has him on the front cover of the local newspaper because he's like, this is the story.
I'm in the paper. Also, don't touch the bait. That was his only instruction. Really? That's the only instruction? Okay.
Just don't touch it.
You got to get your degree. You got to become a masturbator.
Can I just say that a lot of people are like, well, this is ripped from the headlines. This movie's ripped from the headlines. I'm like, here's the thing. The Lifetime Network is these are ripped from the headline stories. So if you want to watch a real movie by Mary Kay Letourneau's stuff, Lifetime has like a few movies about it. So go watch that instead.
Yeah, and I don't, and that's what I think is so fascinating about this movie. By the way, first of all, welcome back, Lauren. It's been a long time.
Hey, I know. I'm super happy to be back for this incredibly uncomfortable movie. Thanks so much for having me. It's a departure from Barbie. That's for
sure. A little bit, just a little bit.
Except for when when Barbie got Ken behind the Mojo Dojo Casa house, and then we don't know what happened, but Barbie.
You don't know what happened.
That's you have to get the DVD for that or the Blu-ray, whatever. KT, welcome back to you. It's also good to have you back on.
Good to be back as well. Yeah.
I love that we have two actresses on for this because that's very awesome to me. But I would not be interested in like a straight biopic of that story, personally.
I just don't like biopics.
Sure.
Yeah,
yes.
Well,
Agreed.
it's one of those things. It's one of those things where you have to dance around it so much that it's
He's like 12,
especially with Lifetime, where they're just churning out this fucking garbage, right? Like, how nobody at the Lifetime Network is capable of giving like a nuance, but also like a hey, this is a bad thing, this is rape kind of.
They're currently working on VC Andrew stuff, and anyone knows who VC Andrew is knows all about what her novels were like. Incest.
It's just C-student salaciousness is what that kind of stuff is, and that's one of Todd Haynes is so good at a certain specific thing, and it's usually someone in a domestic situation where there's some something to skew or some deep unhappiness or some, but it's never like huge danger, but he does such a great job with people in complicated situations.
He really has like such an amazing way of directing things that kind of feel hazy. Like they just feel like very hazy and dreamlike and delicate, even when the tensions are extremely high. Like that's really how I felt when I watched Safe for the first time.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It was just that like extremely disorienting, experience, but also in a very weird way, peaceful, which is tonally kind of what you get here as well. Just like
so
place that it's set.
So he could probably direct a movie about Jonestown then.
You're really stopping around for this one, huh?
Let's pitch it.
I know exactly.
Sure,
She's practicing her pitch on air.
No. One thing about this movie, though.
Real quick. I did love Julianne Moore and Todd Haynes have worked together so often and have over the years.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel like they speak the same language. They just like are really clicked in with each other.
I just wanted to get that out of the way right now because I'm not sure we'll get back to it, but it's one of those great like director and actress pairings. I'm like, yes, keep doing that. Please.
We're definitely gonna get to it because they talk about it in multiple clips that I pulled.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Guaranteed. All right, we're good.
So Sammy Birch, they wrote this, right? Like it's her and her husband. It's their first like feature length screenplay.
Why is there so much of that this year? I love it. That's great.
Yeah. First timers.
This is kind of fascinating. The Sammy Birch, I guess, like she was the main screenwriter. Her husband and her came up with the story mostly.
Yeah.
But she was the casting. Her mom was a casting director, like a really, really famous casting director.
Okay.
So she would sit in like at her mom's office while she was casting all these movies, which is why you get such a great like casting scene where Natalie Portman's looking at all of the actors that are trying to play like the kid. You know what I mean?
And she's like, oh, they're not hot enough.
Yeah. So
awkward scene.
Come on.
So Sammy Birch ended up being the assistant location director for I don't know. I have a clip where she kind of talks about her title, but for the Hunger Games, she was one of the location
okay
for the So this is a clip that I fucking pulled where she's talking about I think this part of it, but She ended up helping like with the Hunger Games like location scouting.
It's kind of, I think, what makes especially Gracie a fun character to write, because there's so much denial. There's so much denial of reality, and the gap between what she's saying and what we feel is so vast that it can be really physically uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it looks physically uncomfortable to be Charles Melton in this film. And also, I was thinking when this goes, even for the character of Elizabeth that Natalie Portman played, she comes into this film speaking the language of like feelings and empathy and like talking a good game of being an emotional person, but you put in the script little moments of seeing that she's got her own complicated love life with her fiance, who she doesn't always feel like talking to, and something happened with her director, and there's stuff that she's not talking about either, as she's prying them. But you show us that what we're seeing is not the real her necessarily either.
Absolutely. I think the ways in which we get information about Elizabeth, and how slowly our trust in her as a narrator, as an entry point, starts to dissolve, really is I think part of the fun of the movie.
I mean, one interesting kind of fun fact about your background is your mother was a casting director. You grew up, I think, I can imagine you as a small child with a crayon book, keeping yourself busy, being surrounded by actors, trying to get a
Quite
part
literally, yeah.
in those waiting rooms. And so, and then you grew up to like do a lot of casting work yourself. You cast the first Hunger Games.
I was the location casting assistant in North Carolina.
You basically like cast Jennifer and made her.
Yeah, exactly. I found Jennifer in a diner.
But I just love it because that makes me feel like you in particular have such a special and kind of particular insight into the world of what will people do to get a part.
That's true. That is very oddly, darkly true. I think that there's something about, sometimes I go, why was I there? You know what I mean? Why was I after school, like sitting in production offices? Like sometimes I would be under my mom's desk and like and I would hear people come in and say the same line over and over and over and over. And I do have weird memories of like weird women figuring, I mean, not just women, but I have specifics of like kind of like hot actresses being like, oh, hey, what are you doing? You know, like as I'm a child doing my homework, you know, like they think I'm going to go in and go, that girl, you should give her this one-liner in Vegas Vacation. Like you should. Like it's very demented. And so I think that kind of energy is just so infused in my upbringing.
Well, yeah, and you put it also, I think, in such good use here on the screen when you show us Elizabeth looking at the reels of young boys auditioning to play the Joe part. And I think I'm so glad you wrote that scene in, because for me, watching this as an audience member, and I'm sure people in here felt the same way, that's when you kind of take a breath and you're like, oh, right, he was that young.
Yeah, it's a sobering moment. Absolutely. And we tried to build in those gradually, just these reminders that kind of flip your stomach, but also we got an email of those kids, those aren't their real names, saying, hi, here's my real name, here's my slate, and then they start the scene and then those are their lines. So it's like the meta
very surreal
qualities of this really never stop being very strange and funny.
Sounds interesting. I think this casting on this is great. I didn't know who Melton was, by the way, at all.
No, I had to look up Vegas Vacation, which apparently is a real movie.
Is that like oh no, that's Viva Rock Vegas. The
who could forget one of the great Flintstone movies?
The only Flintstone movie?
No, there's one with John Goodman.
The one with John Goodman is actually good.
Who could forget Fred Flintstone in The French Connection?
Fred Flintstone, French Connection. Yabba dabba, I don't think so.
Yabba dabba don't.
So, okay. Yeah. It blows my mind. First of all, I just want to level set because we're doing American Fiction next week too, which is another debut. And we talked about it like a little bit with the Holdovers. That again, not that dude. The dude who wrote Holdovers, not a new writer. He's been writing for a long time, but like as far as like hitting the big time and like being in a movie that's like Oscar nominated and then stuff along those lines. Yeah, big deal. So I love that there's. And this is kind of, remember when we talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once? Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, I think this is going to be very influential in ways that we may not immediately notice. And I think that this might be one of them, which is they're letting some different voices in for finally.
Although still a Nepo baby, though.
Good point. Well, look, incremental change, right?
Casting Nepo baby.
Casting Nepo baby, yeah.
You know?
What if I cast myself? Like,
it's like when people hate when directors make cameos in their own movies, or like they bring or they pull like a Scorsese and have like his mom and dad play bit parts in his films.
I think
I
that's
loved it when they did that in Moonstruck. I thought that was great. That's not even his movie.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, casting director has always sounded to me like one of the worst jobs because you have to see like you have to see the auditions of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. You have to get good at like seeing the auditions of hundreds and hundreds of people. You know what I mean? Right. Like because we were just talking about it with the Holdovers, and they were talking about how they had to see 800 people
before they got down to Tessa. Yeah,
they had to play 800 people just to see the kid that ended up finding they found him like a fucking
please be employed, Dominic. Please, you gotta do more movies after the Holdovers.
Well, and it occurs to me. It occurs to me that Julianne Moore and Todd Haynes are like freaking two great tastes that taste great together, and this is a great role for Natalie Portman, and she plays.
I have something to say about that when you're done, Conan.
Sure. It won't be much longer, I assure you. I think she's playing a bad actress, right? So, which is hard enough in and of itself, but she's learning off of someone who's been acting their entire life and is very good at manipulating people. So she's learning off of a great actress, but playing a bad actress who's attempting to learn from a great actress is a very specific thing that, again, for someone who's been considered a lightweight by a lot of people, usually dudes, in different films that she's been in, which doesn't help some of the dialogue she was given in those fakakta Star Wars prequels. But I found to be very impressive. And it makes the snubbing all the worse, frankly, because it's not only Moore's great, she's pretty much always great, though.
Yeah.
Even in stuff that's like maybe the movie's not great. Yeah.
It's the assassin. I'm sorry.
He's even great in fucking 30 Rock.
Yeah.
Where she had Alec Baldwin do the Boston accent.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like, I told you, Jack.
But in Natalie Portman, this is a great at-bat for her where she like really delivers the goods. And then this Melton kid, I didn't know him from Moses. He's fantastic in this as well. So to have like all three of those performances be snubbed, as well as Haynes for director, which he's just not in the club, I guess. So I guess that's part of it. And having stuff for best picture, et cetera, et cetera. It's maddening and also completely predictable. Okay, so Kristina, what were you going to say? Sorry, I just wanted to get that.
When this film came out, when people found out that Natalie Portman was being directed by a male director again, a clip of her at the Golden Globes or at the Oscars with Best Director came out, and she said, "Here are all the male nominees." And a lot of people are like, well, Natalie Portman, you have yet to work with a female director, though. How about that? And I'm over here like, oh my God, film Twitter's gonna be the death of me. But I'm like, you can't. It depends on what the script is. Sometimes you get a script before there's even like a director. Usually you get like a screenwriter first. Like, you can't.
Also, Todd Haynes is one of the great queer directors too.
Exactly, too. Like, it's like he's not some cis heteronormative like type of like straightforward male.
Oh yeah,
director.
alpha male Todd Haynes, right? Exactly.
Well, and she also picked the script because it was Julianne Moore and Todd Haynes working together.
Yeah,
and like she was like a huge fan
They're
of
like
both
Chris
of
Nolan.
their, like their collaboration.
Yeah.
So like coming onto the script, she's like, yeah, I'm like have to bring my A game because it's like Julianne Moore and Todd Haynes.
She did too. That's the thing. She did.
Yeah, she can act. People forget about that.
Yeah, and it's a multi-layered performance, and that comes back to Gina Rowlands or something in opening night and stuff like that, where it's like there's the performance of the performance is like part of the performance and things along those lines. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that, like having to do a bad performance, because I think it's so incredibly nuanced. And I think that Lauren, you're going to be able to speak to this more than I can, because I once saw Billy Joel do a night where he was explaining that it's very hard for him to perform when people clap in the audience because it messes up his tempo because they're not on tempo. And he's like, so he's purposefully showing you him playing off tempo and singing off key because he's now singing to the key the audience is singing. And I had this moment of like, Jesus Christ, he's so good at this. He can do it purposefully off tempo.
Doing things purposefully bad is incredibly hard. Singing off key when you have relative perfect pitch, impossible. So I greatly respect people who can and who can take it to that like extra camp level. I feel like that's just like a whole other skill that I feel like acting schools and singing schools should give you classes on how to. It's like, okay, now you know how to do it good. Now do it bad.
Break it apart.
You have to know what doesn't work,
right?
Okay,
to know what
you
work.
gotta do your monologue, your Shakespeare monologue. Okay, you gotta do it bad though.
Do it as a first-year drama student.
Dude, I had an instructor make me do the poem Death Be Not Proud by John Donne in my Queen's accent just to break me out of the line.
And
I was like,
I love
you know.
Yes.
Wow.
Death Be Not Proud. Yeah, sure.
I also I don't know how much, like I don't really know anything about the background of Charles Melton, but like we talked about Riverdale when we were watching it earlier.
I'm on it.
He was like one of those guys that they bring into like the American Horror Story universes to be in like an episode or two and like kind of play like a bit character.
Like that guy. He's a that guy.
But he was so nuanced. He's a good actor.
With camp stuff and with like queer like shows like American Horror Story and stuff like that. So it's interesting that that's kind of been what his career has been so far.
That is interesting.
Oh, he was in that mainstream movie too. That's a movie we should cover one time.
Never freaking. I didn't know who he was. I was like, "Who's this guy? What's his deal?"
I
all the girls went to see it because they loved him in Riverdale. I know that for a fact.
That's what I found out very quickly. I was like, "Oh, every female friend like loves this dude." Okay, right on.
I actually went into this not even knowing what this movie was about.
Oh, well, that's a shocker.
Oh my god!
Like, so why? What would make somebody so mad to shit in a box and leave it on your doorstep?
Oh yeah, and you watched it, and you watched it today for the first time when we were watching it in Discord.
Yeah. Well, he got in before the buzzer though, so we won't hold it against him.
I was going to say, Lauren, I think you might have hit why this is labeled a rom-com on Google, because you said it's so campy to purposefully do bad acting. Maybe that's what the directors were talking about.
Maybe that's what they're going for, because I really feel like the movie is grafted from Lifetime. And so it's like there is like a weird common DNA there that they like. Yeah, I feel like it's so preposterous that how could people take it seriously? But also the subject matter is so serious that there's that like it's just so tonally disconnected. And when my friends told me to watch this movie, they pitched it to me as camp classic, and I was like, I don't know. I watched it.
They don't hang out with Andrew World.
Yeah, I was just like camp classic.
Well, I love camp. We should do Mommy Dearest one time.
There's something like there's something very Norma Desmond in like Sunset Boulevard about Julianne Moore's performance.
True.
Yes.
I actually think
I'm ready for my close on Mr. DeVille.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good like analysis. One of the things that I found so interesting about just the character of Gracie is how much she just paints herself as like such a victim, and it's just so interesting, like the actual acting of what's going on and what like Elizabeth is observing there is that she's just trying to observe what they're like in real life. But those characters are not operating under real life circumstances.
Yeah.
They're completely delulu. And like because of that, that's what is just so interesting is that it's like you have this bad actress trying to be as real as possible by following the fakest people in the world.
Ever. Exactly. In this culture of the ubiquitous biopic. Right, because this has definitely been the year of the biopics reckoning of like, you know, and we can thank our friend Eileen Jones for that as well, for writing that great article in Jacobin. I'm just like, enough with the biopics, we get it already, and people actually being like, why are there so many of these, and why are so many of them so bad? But I think, Lauren, that's a great point, because if you look at like that exchange where it was like, well, who was in charge, right? Just that line alone, which is like, oh my. Why? This is the hill? This is the hill you're dying on?
Have you seen the Mary Kay
Charles in
Letourneau?
charge.
That was insane. Okay, so if
like
you,
the interviews?
The
God,
interview that she had where they were like pressing her on this, and then Villa Falau is like so uncomfortable the whole time. You can see he wants to leave. He's like, I want to run away. But she keeps repeating it. It's almost like a freaking like Meisner.
Like it wasn't rape. It was all consensual.
Yeah.
We were not
It's just
victims.
like, who was the boss? She keeps saying it over and over. And the more she says it, the more my skin crawls. It's like, who was the boss? Who was the boss? Who was the boss?
Well,
who was the boss? That's an acting technique.
Tony Danza.
There's got to be something. Charles in charge and Tony Danza's the boss. You know?
God damn it! Damn this show.
But there's something also like she obviously died in 2020 during like the pandemic, and right before her death, like a year
Good for her.
He like her husband and family finally, like after her husband tried to leave, you know, like Phil, like after he tried to leave, and I think it was
like 2019 or something like that.
Well, no, he tried to leave in 2017, filed for divorce.
Yeah,
and then she lured him back into like the relationship for 2 more years. In 2019, he finally leaves with the kids, and they're like, all right, we're like, this is a toxic person, we're cutting him off. And then like literally a few months later, she goes, oh, by the way, I have cancer and I'm on my deathbed. Turns out she really
and he
did.
took care of her until her
Yeah.
last days.
I mean, if you think about it, he was like 11, 12 years old. His brain was nowhere near fully developed. Your brain is fully developed when you're like in your mid to late 20s, like frontal lobe and all that. So maybe he was, the older he got, the more he realized, you know, maybe there was something wrong with a 35-year-old trying to get with a 12-year-old kid. Like maybe the older he got, the more he realized that there's something wrong with our relationship.
Well, and that's where the manipulation comes in, and just the psychological effects of grooming when you're dealing with not just like the age gap, but also just like it's very obvious from watching interviews with Mary Kay Letourneau, and you see it reflected in this movie in very like harrowing ways too with Gracie's character, like just the sheer manipulation of like, well, you wanted this. You were in charge. Right. You were the boss. You seduced me, blah, blah, blah. That will really like fuck with someone's head. And like the gaslighting is so real. And to have that instilled in you at such a young age, there's no way of untraining that when your manipulator, when your abuser
at a formative age.
Also, you're basically like your caregiver at the same time. There's so many like weird role, like, confusion
power dynamics.
Yeah, where she's more like mothering him kind of in a way too. It's like, ooh.
Which I want to go back to talking about Charles Melton. I always want to talk about Charles Melton. But like,
by the way, I'd be fine being mothered by Julianne Moore too. So it's okay.
But, oh my God. But Charles Melton, I love the way that he plays this character because he's such a hunk, like he's such a heartthrob. I really see him as this next generation's James Dean. Like I'm really, really excited to see what he does next. Like he has this like old emotion. Yeah, he has this like old Hollywood quality about him that I just find so fascinating. But what I love is the way that he plays this role is basically like he's in his 30s at this point. He's acting like a teenager, and it's like his wife is basically like his mother.
That's how those relationships end up being. Like.
And the way that he just commits to that is so fascinating to me. I'm like of all of the Oscar snubs, I'm the most heated about him not getting his flowers the way that I think.
Yeah, well, and yeah, it's again, I'm angry about it. That's one of the reasons why we're covering it is so we can be angry about it.
But you know what's fascinating about this like dynamic is that with the age of social media, when a teenage boy is caught with one of his teachers, especially the teacher's young and attractive, a lot of people are like, yeah, you go, boy, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But if it's like a man and a teenage girl, it's like ill, pervert, creepy. I'm like, it's creepy, perverted, no matter who.
It's still creepy the other way around. Yeah, that's.
There's that South Park joke that fucking sucks, but they kept on having.
Make sure to tell it.
The kids they kept on having the kids get killed by the teacher, and then the cop was like, "Nice" or whatever. Because it was like because they were looking at the power dynamic between like a female teacher and a male student.
I mean, you get that on Fox News all the time.
Yeah, that's what they were making fun of. I think
it's revolting that here's a bunch of like assholes going up there yelling about grooming all the time, and when you actually have an actual case of grooming, you defend the fucking groomer because you think that's like some weird power fantasy you had whenever you were a kid. Fuck you guys.
Well, no, because when they say grooming, they just mean like gay people. Yeah, they just mean
gay.
Like, they mean camp. No.
no, literally, they're like camp is grooming.
So I want to read this and start with.
I was going to say I really agree with this comment.
The scene with the son on the roof where you can see who's more mature and the rest of development is on display is so heartbreaking.
Oh, it's so true.
I wanted to quote that scene as to why I really feel he should have been nominated. That was so subtle and so heartbreaking. Ah, man.
Yeah. And they found a kid.
And when he says the line, I'm just going to break in like everyone else. God, I can't tell if we're connecting, if I'm creating a bad memory for you in real time, but I can't.
Yes.
Because he's never like smoked pot. Right. And he's smoking pot on the roof. And like, that's like, whatever. I grew up with stoner parents. It wasn't that big of a deal. But like, I mean, most people, it's a formative experience, right? And he never had that of the many things that was taken from him. Never.
And he's having that with his son in the power dynamic. His son is doing the father's part there.
Yeah.
And his son that looks fucking like they found an actor that looks exactly like Charles. At least the way that they dyed his hair and like.
That's what happens when the writer's a casting director's daughter. Good casting.
It's so true.
I mean,
and they found some great locations too.
Right.
These days, Hollywood is really finding like good casting for like, especially like House of the Dragon comes to mind with Millie and Emma. I'm like, that is A+ casting. Like Hollywood's getting better because remember back in the day when they had like parents and actors and parents, actors and actresses, and they were like, yeah, these are supposed to be a family. And I'm like, why is the daughter a redhead but the mother's a blonde and the father looks Italian? That makes no sense to me.
Look, I'm not a scientist. I don't know how recessive genes work. Okay, I'm just a casting director.
Well,
if you put a picture of my
no,
if you get a picture of my family together, it literally looks like people that you paid $100 at the bus stop to come take a photo.
I feel like we talked about it briefly with like the holdovers. Like when like something like Election came out, right? Like Alexander Payne was casting that and like was like taking people that were actually the age of actors that were because he like found Chris I forget his last name, but and like actually at a high school, and then again for this movie he found the kid from the holdovers at a high school. Like he actually cast age appropriate people at a time when like especially the early 2000s, late 90s, they're casting like grown ass adults as teenagers, and then people that looked nothing like them as their parents. Like
Spider-Man. Tell me Stalker Channing was not 18 when she did Grease.
Well, everyone
I did Grease last summer as a 32-year-old, and I made a very convincing 17-year-old. Let me tell you.
I feel like that the peak of that was the fucking Sam Raimi.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man, where all these high schoolers are like, we'll charitably say
hairlines. And
we'll charitably say
like
late 20s, but that's very, very.
They let James Franco into high school.
No one should let James Franco into a high school. Period.
Okay, no, we're gonna get another one of these May December movies if we do.
No. Speaking of that,
okay, hold on, just real quick. I'm gonna get it in. I'm just gonna get it in. Heavenly Creatures. It reminds me of how the casting for Heavenly Creatures was, of course, brought us Melanie Linsky in her first role. She was literally just a schoolgirl, right? But they that's what they wanted. That's what they needed. And sometimes that's what you got to do because otherwise it's going to be someone that's too good, too professional, too acty. Anyway, I wanted to get that in there because there's not going to be another chance later. Kristina, go ahead.
Okay, guys, which of your teachers had affairs with their students?
Okay. I wish I had not thrown it to you, but okay.
It's always the history teachers who are also coaches. God
damn it! How did you know?
Wait, so I had a related thing.
What happened at my high school?
What do you
Related
guys
to that?
think of the fact that?
And my
I think
Marxist government teacher had an affair with one of her students. I'm like, God, I'm like, really? You made me a fucking lefty, and you end up having an affair with one of your male students? Come on now.
You know what's worse?
I liked the fact that in this they took it out of the realm of a school.
Yeah.
Especially with everything going on with like public education right now, and like it's good that they took it out of the realm of school. And I think that it's good that they bumped the age up from like the kid was like 11 in the real story, and he's like 13 in this. I think
that makes it so much better for us.
No, but I think it makes it more palatable, right? Like
what changes the focus again? That's the actual story, the biopic that they're making in this movie. I would hate. Yes. I would not want to watch it. But what this is wonderful because it shows just that predatory nature of the actual relationship, the actual events that happen, and how that's used for fodder, for content, for entertainment.
How predatory that is.
And how predatory that is. Precisely. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And that is what makes this a fantastic film and of its time. Of the time that we're like, look, why are we like doing all these damn biopics? Anyway, like again, we're just gonna put a stop to all of them.
We got to do a little bit of a meta film about that. I mean,
which I mean, to a certain degree. Well, sure. I mean,
did you hear about the fucking Beatles thing? I'm like, we already have. I'm like 4.
That's Paul McCartney. He has to think about his entire life before he plays.
4 different movies. I'm like, that's the plot of Jersey Boys with all 4 of their perspectives. Like, come on now, do we need that?
The world cannot give you enough money for Beatles stuff, so that is on brand for we have to invest in IP. We know it. But Conan, I wanted to ask you. You had mentioned this before, and I think we should bring it up now. Do you think that was part of the reason why the Oscars passed on this? Not just because the topic is dangerous to go near and the Oscars is very opposed, but because it kind of makes fun of what the Oscars loves to, love.
And what is deemed important, right? They're always, whether they're any good or not, there's always biopics in Best Picture category. It's like, really?
Well, it's the year of fucking Maestro.
Yeah, did you see these movies? Because they
don't
really
it's the year of the Maestro. Like.
Yeah. I wasn't going to specifically name them, but 2 other people did, so that's fine. But what I'm saying,
you hated that movie so much.
I get it. It's fine.
I just thought it was a Golda.
This is not.
Golda's nominated too for best prosthetic nose.
Look, this is why we have an after party. The whole thing with like the obsession with the biopic, and again, them being savaging people's lives to make a story. Right. And again, that being a predatory act. This is not super kind to that or to acting. Because if you think about like what Natalie Portman's character is doing, again, who's great, bad actress, trying to be a better actress, learning off of a great actress, to be clear, it doesn't reflect well. And who are the people that are voting for these? People in the industry, right? So it's too good.
I would be upset about this movie. By the way, speaking of bad line readings, it is my dinner time. Okay, it is like 6 p.m. on the West Coast, and the movie had me really excited about ordering a hot dog. So that's what I'm going to be eating.
What a great music cue for.
So talking
being at a hot dog.
Great musical, because that's how I knew. I was like, oh, it's on. Like when you get that reading, you hear like the dramatic tone, and it's like, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna be a good movie.
That's the reason my friends were like, it's a camp classic, because how else could you justify that line reading about the fucking hot dogs? And I was like, maybe you're onto something. Maybe
December you're onto something.
But also you have these like scenes. For me, the scene where I was like, oh, the Oscars can never really be okay with this, was the scene where she was describing to the children actors, the like teenage actors at that school, what it's like to kind of be maybe side of into it when you're doing a sex scene.
Yeah, like that's. Again,
I don't know. They asked. You know?
I need to. I'm like, okay.
Who's
Can
the
you also
boss?
mention the intimacy coordinators too? The intimacy coordinators.
Yeah, if you don't know why you need one, that scene will let you know why you need one.
Yeah,
but also like, there's the hot dog scene, so I'm laughing my ass off. But then there's that scene, so I'm like trying to pull my skin off.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's the same movie, and it all makes sense in the context of what it. And that's Todd Haynes for you, right? That's
And you don't even know who's worse, Julianne Moore or Natalie Portman's character. Like you don't know which one's worse because she's feeding off of
everyone is
Julianne Moore.
morally dubious in
I
like
mean, I would
different
say
intentions.
I would
but
say Julianne Moore's character is worse, but for the whole
objectively, I would agree with you. Yeah.
but still, no, like it is like morally everybody's fucked in this besides Charles Melton and the kids. And I guess maybe
but the kids are so screwed up. I mean,
yeah,
just
but
the abuse that they get too.
They're
more
normal.
Scale for your birthday. The kids armed, like fuck you, woman.
Yeah.
Like leave her arms out of this.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about with regards to the kids being fucked up. Probably the most one of the most heartbreaking scenes for me in the movie is when they go to get like the dresses, like the the white dress, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. The daughter's trying
more
on the
great
dress.
mirror work there, by the way. Lots of great mirrors in
amazing.
this.
I know. I was like, I loved the mirrors, just like from a cinematic standpoint, also as a metaphorical, of how people mirror each other. And I thought was so it's a metaphor. I feel like I say that on every single episode I've ever been on. Guys, it's a metaphor.
We'll just get a drop of you saying it, and then we can
It'll be a clip that you can just use for every episode.
Yeah, like the monkey hat. Yeah.
But
what's the Parasite where he's like, it's so metaphorical.
Oh yeah. But that scene with the daughter when she comes out in the dress and she's like, how do you feel in it? And she's like, oh, I feel really pretty. I feel great in it or whatever. And her mom says the words you never want to hear as a plus size woman. You're so brave.
Right.
You're so brave. It's like those little tiny digs that you can just tell that you're like, oh, this person is a straight up narcissist.
Yeah.
Like trying to just mold the children to dress how she wants them to dress and be how she wants them to be and to pretend like everything is normal and everything is fine. And it's just like, it's there are bigger moments that really show that throughout the movie, but it's the small digs that I think make it more relatable and hurt the most to watch.
Well, when you hear that she gave this a scale, she that she gave a scale as a gift, and you hear it in the course of a conversation, not like that it even happens, but it's like, oh no, that happened in the past. It's like, I hope you didn't do that again.
It's been it's like an ongoing thing, and especially with I don't know if you've heard of this trend. It's called almond moms. This is a thing that's going on where it's like, oh, if you're hungry, just eat a handful of almonds. And that's how they keep their kids from getting overweight.
So they're doing
a thing that's happening.
That's what. So they're doing what Cillian Murphy did when he did Oppenheimer.
I know. I was like,
maybe they'll be
Cillian Murphy.
Get on the Oppie diet.
Yeah,
exactly. You heard it, Kato.
It's the ball.
And not only does she say that to them, she also then wears sleeveless dresses all the time herself to be like, I am better.
So, KT, can you please explain intimacy coordination briefly? I am familiar with and interested in the profession. And I didn't want that to be glossed over for the audience. Everyone's looking for a new job.
And I will say we actually did cover this a bit too in our classic episode with Gabriel Horn for Carried Away, because they was talking about dealing with one for that specific movie. But go on, KT, take it away.
Oh no, I mean, if you want to, Eddie, I've talked a bunch and you haven't quite spoken too much.
I've barely said anything because I have.
You know what an intimacy
and most of it was curse words. So
I mean, I was just I mostly be repeating what Gabe said to be honest with you, but the big thing is Gabe actually has worked with an intimacy coordinator multiple times in movies, which is really odd. I have to say, watching your childhood friend get molested in 2 movies. Not 1, but 2. And this is they're there to make sure that lines don't get crossed and everybody is comfortable and that the scene is worked out really nicely.
Nothing too crazy happens with.
Make sure the sock is on. Make sure the flesh-colored horseshoe thingy's on right. You gotta make sure that everything's covered right.
Furry crotch thing that women wear.
Make
I
sure
don't know
nothing
what
too
that's
crazy
called.
happens with his movie grandma that he's taking across.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
What discusses the beats of this scene that are gonna play out, because like any scene, it's got blocking. But a lot of time when you show up on set for a scene like that, they kind of just feel like you'll hum a few bars, and a few bars can be hummed beyond what you'd want to sing in a song.
Yeah.
So they set boundaries for everyone that is agreed upon, almost like a treaty, and then you work out from there. And you kind of agree with who's going to be on set too, because they want to keep it kind of small, but not too small.
You know
They want to be alone with the director.
Because when I think of an anti-speed coordinator that was needed, Last Tango in Paris, I think I'm like this. I'm like that film should have had it, but they didn't have anti-speed coordinators back then. Like know, women were getting assaulted while doing these scenes.
It was assaulted butter.
Yeah.
With the butter.
Yeah.
In this though, you know that like the Natalie Portman character is the kind of like that rare, I think probably kind of actress that would be like, no, like penetrate, like, you know what I mean? Like she had,
well, she's clearly method, right?
Yeah.
She's like the Jared Leto of whatever Lifetime
she's both
original picture she's
both
making.
method and like somehow like Jared Shido. Like, you know what I mean? She's the but she's like both method and like boundaryless in a weird way. Like she clearly has something going on with the director that keeps casting her and stuff. Which I also think it's interesting. The director is Italian, like, you know, making this, and it's not quite. Or I don't know if he's Italian, but he sounded Italian.
Anti-Italian racism.
No, but like you know, European standards or something
like
an
Argento type.
Are probably
European interactions with sex are definitely different. Yeah,
and so he's the one making the, you know, the kid getting molested by the, you know, or the kid impregnating the woman movie, and it's like, all right, like.
So here's what I think is interesting about that scene, though. So first of all, it shows you a little more of the character work that Natalie Portman's doing. That's like, no, she's relishing the fact that she gets to turn this into something that's about what she wants it to be, which is as awkward as possible, and it both diffuses the situation. It also shows her being pretty manipulative, like, you know, kind of like cat with a mouse with these horny teenagers that, like, you know, they you know, like whatever, like Mr. Skin at the barbecue.
Crosses the line with the guy with Charles Mountain, the rape, like she crosses the line with the rape victim.
Yes,
yes,
that's exactly that, and that goes to show you the lengths that she will go. But you, like, that's your first huge, like, oh my god, like these are just like high school kids, like what, like you're just like you're going deep, so to speak, with this, huh? I mean,
it comes up. I'm saying.
No, it's an incredible scene, and again, in the way that like the freaking the hot dog scene is, you know, hilarious. That is just like, oh my, I have never seen anything so awkward since Andy just told a completely unrelated story last week. You know.
And she comes off as this kind of like hungry ghost, like almost like a mythical creature that's feeding off of this deliciousness from the like in What We Do in the Shadows, the show, the energy vampires. The awkwardness that is coming out of those kids in that room. She's just like eating it up and making it worse.
And when Colin Robertson ends up with the other energy vampire that feeds on misery, like the misery vampire at the office.
Absolutely.
I had something that I wanted to bring into this. Since we were talking about biopics, right, and kind of enough with the biopics, it's even deeper than biopics, though, I feel like, because true crime has like transcended genre or format or like whatever, right? Like,
nothing true crime podcast.
We're like at the point where there are true crime podcasts about true crime podcasts that like go through all the true crime, and each one of these stories is something like this. And people, there's I don't know,
it's the inception of true crime.
Yeah, there's like this voyeurism to it. You know, in some of the less, you know, the more haphazardly thrown together versions of this that take you back to the tabloids, which I think is a great connection that the screenwriter for this made, where it's like tabloid culture becomes true crime culture over a certain amount of time. But there's like not like they're not doing this as like, oh well, I'm a forensics expert and I'm going to take you through, you know, like this kind. I mean, sometimes they do, but like even then they do the things where it's like, oh, let's take a forensic expert and see how many cold cases they can solve in this amount of time, and then they put people that are like, you know, like that didn't even do anything necessarily, like behind bars, just to, you know, like we're in such a weird true crime cultural moment
There's literally a show called Last Meal on YouTube where celebrities come on to be like, "Here's my last meal. If I was gonna be on death row, like, fun, cool, let's do it."
Well, I was reading an Intercept article the other day where this one woman that does like the cold that tries to do the cold case things, you know what I mean? Like she has that reality show, and they started proving that like a lot of the cold cases that she solved and people actually went to jail, like are so haphazardly thrown together so that they could make a season of television that like innocent people were like live.
This is
by reality TV, and it's like this is.
Although
like
in contrast, we did get the golden killer.
Only murders in the building is literally the only sentence I was trying to say for the past 5 minutes. Of like that portrayed that so well, which is in fact the obsession with it, why people get obsessed with it,
let's go,
how it relates to actual reality, and also a great performance by Divine Joy Randolph, who's probably going to win, and she deserves to.
Yes.
But yeah, only murders in the building, only representation of that in media, the entire thing you're talking about for us, where it's like this, it's again so many levels to it that it's actually affected investigations. Is like that's bad. That's maybe like it's enough with this true crime then, you know. Thanks a lot, Serial. Anyway,
everybody thinks that they deserve like everybody with a weird job thinks that they deserve like a reality show now, right? Like so it's like I'm like the world's best forensics expert, and then they're like, well, we got to get a season of TV out of you solving every cold case in fucking like southern Texas or something for the
like
next
it's a speed round or something.
Yeah.
Gotta sub on Twitch, you know.
Crime, guys.
It has to fit on TikTok.
I'll solve a crime for every sub I get.
Right. For every subscription, she solves a crime. You're never gonna believe it, folks.
It was the black guy. 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 And then like then you put away like 10 fucking random fucking people that didn't do anything to like like satiate an audience that has certain stereotypes of the people that they think are criminals. And that, like this is what I was reading.
News
like,
is all about that.
The Intercept article. It's like they found people that like were in the area and who fit like stereotypes of criminals, which like is racialized, is 100% racialized, right? Like
it also feeds into the to the Law and Order kind of stuff. Like people want the people who defend the police, which like we need to reform the police. That's something we absolutely have to do. But like this industry like is basically saying the police are okay and like and it is important that we solve some of these crimes, but like let's remember the police aren't doing that because for multiple reasons, probably because the people who are investigating these things aren't the people who should be investigating these things.
Yeah, well, and it's like also mental illness, it's class related, right? Like it's racialized, it's all of these. Like if you could find like I don't know, because I was just reading like this article that was like really long the other day, and it really was about like how like like mentally challenged black people pretty much were being thrown into prison.
What if this cast
like
was not
satiate
white?
the ending of a season of reality TV, and it's like holy fucking shit, dude. And I feel like on another side of the spectrum is a movie like this, where it's I mean this is mostly like a white woman that for a fact did the thing that she's accused of doing. She had jail time for it, but then how much of it is rehabilitating her image when they do like a Lifetime movie like this, right? Like how much of it is showing, because they're not doing it delicately. They're not like carefully putting together like a picture of a like a criminal or something, because this woman is a rapist. Like that's
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, when this story was like going on, I remember when the Mary Kay Letourneau stuff was happening, and how like that was just kind of seen as like the word that people would use to describe it was like salacious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Salacious. Like,
and the luckiest
like
boy
it was
alive.
much more like it was almost like a sexy thing. And one of the things, if we're going to talk about kind of racialized politics of things, is that typically there is a lot of like racialized stereotypes that are really, really harmful about especially Pacific Islander men looking much older than they do in a lot of cases, and that becomes a whole big thing, because then it plays into that horrible narrative of like,
oh my god,
they're
you're
mature
11
for their age.
Yeah.
And when you kind of bring that into it, like there was definitely a huge racial part of this story that like doesn't always get like bubbled up to the surface because people are focusing on, you know, the age gap, yes, but also we have to understand the power dynamics that were not just in age, but also in race. We have a white woman who looks so innocent and like you would never expect it from her, you know, taking advantage of a child, but a child
a little older.
Claims to say, oh, he's mature for his age. He looked older. He seduced me. He was the boss. Blah blah blah.
Who
All
was
of
in
that is
charge?
pure racism from the very beginning of it, and that doesn't get brought up nearly as much as it should. And that's why I think like this movie, like with the casting of like Charles Melton, I feel like that was very very critical to the story.
Yeah, and that's what it makes me think about again. My friends in high school who did end up having relations with their teachers and marrying them recently. Like it just, I'm like, you know, even though you were 16, I still think of like that's still kind of young though. You're still not mentally mature enough for this. Like I had a friend who had an affair with our drama teacher, and he was happily married.
Drama.
Yeah, and like
certainly teaching drama that way.
Word got out. She moved to a different school, but she was still involved in the local community theater with him and her mom. So it wasn't like the mom was trying to keep them separated.
Mom.
Yeah, her mom was like, "Yeah, cool with it."
When I was in high school, I remember I couldn't get into the dark room to develop some film that I took, and I go, "Oh, it's probably because some people were having sex in there." Years later, I found out it was the band teacher and one of my friends.
Oh
no.
Which made me even more angry because I was just hoping it was just two students banging and I would have been cool with that.
Y'all, how fucked up is it that we all have a fucking teacher-student story?
Yeah.
We
Like,
all have one.
I
They
have
all
multiple. I
one.
have multiple. But like it was funny because my
principal
sister
got fired as well.
My sister texted me like she was like, "Who's so?" Well, I'm not gonna say his name. Like, who was Mr. So and So? Had a relationship with that you knew, and I'm like, this girl, and she's like, "Is that her?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, they got married."
Well, and also, are any of these predators behind bars? Because in my case, they are not. I don't think in any of our cases they are. Like people just see this as they're like, "Ooh, it's a little like it's a little scandal." Oh, it's just a little scandal as a treat. And it's not. It's not just a
quite the
little
meet cute.
scandal.
One time,
His lives being ruined.
This one teacher, again, history teacher who was a coach, he admitted, like he had an affair with a student when my sister was in high school, but he admitted to it and he got moved to a different building. Then he kept avoiding all the girls because he didn't want to get caught. Like he was kind of very like get that fuck away from me type of situation. But then when I left high school, I had him because he liked me because I was very smart and mature and like wasn't interested in him.
Mature.
So yeah. So also he liked that my sister played basketball and softball and all that. But I was like, I'm not a sports person. But then after I graduated, he had not one but two affairs, and then he finally got fired. I'm like, finally got fired. How many times?
Isn't it just? It's so shocking how it can take so long. It can take so long
for justice.
And like, and the way, kind of bringing it back to the movie, the way that like this family gets shit sent to their house, but that's about the worst thing that happens to them. Like it's just like, you know, yes, like she had to, you know, be punished for her crimes, but then, you know, her life just goes back to normal. And in these real life cases of people that we know, their lives just go back to normal. They're doing the community theater. They're, you know, they're upstanding members of the community, beloved members of the community. You know, that's
but this one's interesting, right?
Like, oh, we love her here. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
but
the baked goods stuff,
getting
right?
some shit sent to their house, and they just go, oh yeah, it's another box of shit. Like it's like nothing.
But then there's also this coterie of people that buy her baked goods, you know, to keep her busy.
Exactly.
And like it's really just people like, you know, for whatever their reasons are, supporting her in a way.
Stay away from my kids.
Yeah.
Gotta keep her busy.
Supporting her in a way that is not ego damaging to her. And again, we're talking about someone who has a very strict control over her life and her image in a very specific way, including everyone around her.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
She's
think
been
about
coddled by her community and not held accountable.
Right. Like
because obviously she hasn't learned anything.
Think about that interaction between the two of them, Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman, at the end where she goes, insecure people are very dangerous, aren't they? I'm secure. Make sure you put that in there.
Yeah. Such a secure line.
You don't have mental problems.
Well, the first thing you
calm.
hear, like when you don't
Calmer than you are, dude.
when you don't necessarily know what she did, right? Like you're kind of getting hints of it in the beginning. You don't necessarily know, like let's say you like if you go into this cult, right? Like you don't necessarily know what she did. The
Like
first thing you really
like
hear,
Andy, who knew nothing about it, was drawing it.
the first
Like, I thought
thing
this was about calendars. What's going on here?
The first thing you really hear is they say, "What do you like about her? Like, why is she a beloved member of the community?" And the woman says, "Because she's not afraid to go after what she wants." And it's like,
which is
but
gross.
That landed her in prison. Like that landed her in prison.
Yeah, but girl power.
Like, you know what I mean?
That feels like a dog whistle compliment.
See, it's okay because she was with her, so it was okay.
This does actually kind of bring up an interesting point, though, of like people who do go to prison, they should have a life after prison because they served the time that they were convicted for.
Oh, why go back to that life?
Can I finish this thought here? Do they deserve to go back to the life that they had before? Or do they have to have a new life?
Recidivism,
because like for example, Mike Tyson, went to jail for beating Robin Givens. And did he deserve to after he got out of prison? He served his time. He should be gainfully employed somewhere. But does he need to have his job back? Does he still need the Mike Tyson murder mystery?
Thank you, The Hangover, for bringing him back.
I think that the really important thing here. Yeah, I think the really important thing here is that she's coming back and she's re-victimizing her victim.
Yeah.
Like she's continuing to fail to allow this guy to have a life, to move on, to grow up. I mean, the only Korean family, and he has to dissect himself from his father and his mother, and he loses that part of his culture.
Yeah.
He loses so much of himself to stay with her so that she can feel justified in what she did. I would say that like, yes, they do deserve a life, but they don't deserve to then come back and commit the crime double jeopardy free.
And do further harm. And again, like, look at how he deals with the butterflies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're on a different show sometimes, Kristina. But with the butterflies and that's a thing that he can control.
So beautiful.
That's like a place that
And of course, the metaphor of the butterflies of like.
Oh my God! You got the metaphor. It's a metaphor.
There it is. Yeah, hit
it's a metaphor. No, I actually, it's true. It's true. Finish what you were saying.
There we go. That's all I got. Sorry.
It's a metaphor.
No, like the real story of her, the real story of her like re-victimizing.
It's a metaphor.
The real story of like Mary Kay like re-victimizing her victim, right? Like the first thing is that she gets caught sleeping with him, gets arrested as like a teacher, gets arrested, but gets put in jail for, they say, all right, we're giving you like a plea deal, which should not be a thing. You should not get a plea deal for a rape. But she gets 3 months in prison, and then she can never talk to the kid again.
She's a white woman. What'd you expect?
Yeah. So she gets her 3 months in prison.
She spoke to the manager.
Instantly, 3 months later, she gets caught by the police in a car with that kid again, having sex with that kid again. The same kid gets pregnant the second time, right? So now she has 2 kids with this 13-year-old kid. So they say, all right, well, now you're getting the full sentence, which is 7 years. Still doesn't seem like very much time for rape twice. But anyway, she goes into prison, gives birth in prison the second time after already doing that once. And then they say, well, you're never allowed to talk to the kid again. The kid actually is the one that lobbies on his, like when he turns 21 to be able to see her again and to get the order rescinded, which I'm sure she was putting pressure on him. Yeah. But he goes to the court. And then they get married at age when he's like at age 21 or whatever.
Oh God, I remember People Magazine covered that thing. I remember reading that. I'm like, what the hell is this?
I know they were on the cover.
They sold the rights.
Love story.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Again,
so can we talk about the metaphor now about the butterflies?
Please let's talk about the butterfly metaphor. It's so true.
Because like one of the things about being abused is that you do actually get like trapped in that mental age, which we kind of discussed about. But like this movie, you finally get to see him blossom into an adult. He's finally going through the metamorphosis of emerging from this cocoon of life that he's been trapped into. So it was just great that you had and she kept referring to them as his bugs. you know, which I thought was like
again,
great
use
thing,
language to dismiss and to sideline, right? Yeah,
and also like you know, she's supposed to because going back to the original case, her defense was that she's bipolar. And my mother-in-law has you know, bipolar, much, you know, like the similar
Oh my
type
god, samesies.
yeah, type 1, the you know, the one where you can actually like really do insane stuff.
Yeah, like
And
with extreme mania.
yeah, I think this was well represented in the film because you also see kind of the abuse that kind of also leads to, because you know, like she's not realizing she's doing this stuff partly because of the of her mental illness, and it's nice that they actually were able to put that into the film and not actually like explain that to you. Like none of this is explained. You have to.
You don't need to put a diagnosis on it to know that like things are off with her. And one of the things that's really difficult with bipolar, one, most people don't know that there's 2 types of bipolar. And they don't understand like that one has.
So is my wife.
Yeah, and so when people talk about bipolar in film, it can be one of those things where, you know, it gets conflated with things that are not necessarily true to most people, you know.
Multiple personality disorder also bipolar.
Yeah,
exactly.
We talked about this with the Murder Night Madness.
Yeah. And so I feel like, you know, to not say it, but to still know that it's like there's something going on in her head that's off. We don't have to name it, but we know the symptoms. And we could probably even relate to people who have those kinds of personality traits and symptoms, and not blanket an entire community that has that same diagnosis as that, which I think was a very responsible thing to do with the filmmaking.
100%.
Very true.
100% agreed. So two things real quick. First of all, the third Conan Neutron The Secret Friends record that came out in 2020 was a concept record about depression and mental health specifically. And I address that as good as I'm ever going to on that record, but that is what that record is about. Secondly, in a lesser movie, we would get some talking head explainer talking about this stuff, maybe even at the jump. Yeah. And I love the I'm just gonna
or
say,
at the end, like Psycho.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Psycho if I don't get a point out soon. But bravery is like something that I would use for Todd Haynes for just, again, figure it out. Julianne Moore's a great actress. You watch her just being various stages of shitty and just sniping and picking at everyone when it suits her in the way of the, you know, someone that has extreme narcissism, and it's showy, not telling.
Yes.
And you get the you know, the boyfriend that barely, or you know, fiance that barely really even gets to break into the movie. He's on the phone with Natalie Portman or whatever.
Yeah,
you know, she's just railroading over that guy. But you get him say something like, you know, when she has no, she's like, oh well, it's kind of brave that she has no shame about this, right? She has no regrets about this, which then he's like, yeah, that's like kind of, it could be like a personality disorder. That's what they like did in like the movie about it. And she's like, she like cuts him off, and it's like that's kind of like the, you know, the narration breaking in to be like, look, this doesn't matter, like this annoying guy, you know, thinks it's a personality disorder, which does, I mean, when it is something like BPD or something, right? Like it's you know, a lot of times you lack the ability to like to self-analyze the way that other people might, right? Like, because your own like narcissism is pushed out past, I don't know, it's like a more complicated thing. But I like that he suggests like, well, it could be this was in the you know, the Lifetime documentary about it or whatever. right. And then she's like, I don't give a fuck about that.
Streaming on Peacock. Yeah.
Because I would assume that she also has mental stuff going on with her too, like that character. Like she has no compunction about kind of just railroading through everybody's lives in this. She doesn't seem to have a lot of empathy for anybody in it. You know, in the situation.
Well, she's a culture vulture, right? I mean, like that's what it comes down to.
She makes everything about herself
like
in the pursuit of realism, but she hides behind the fact that it's about her. Well, and that's the thing, is that it's like when it comes to like method acting, you know, you get the two schools of thought of like people who want to go really method because they're like, I just want to really feel it in my character, and then you have like really amazing actors that are like, yeah, I don't do that. I just kind of, you know, it's my job. And I show up and I do my job and I'm real good at it. And I'm like,
I didn't have to become a cobbler to play this.
But
cobbler,
but
you
it's
know?
this idea that we put on a pedestal the
I just
people
like
that
playing with
method
shoes.
act like they're some sort of like, you know, genius of like
Right.
adapting that technique. Oh, they're so dedicated. They're so good at their craft. When really maybe they just like, I don't know, maybe they're just also on, I don't know. I don't think that method acting is always very responsible. The way
They're a little bit much.
Yeah, Jared Leto, when filming Suicide Squad again, first of all, terrible movie. Y'all know that's for a fact. And second of all, he was sending like anal beads and rats because he's like, this is what the Joker would do. And I'm like, no,
I never
you
saw that in
don't.
the movie.
Yeah, that's
I'm
why.
like,
That's
he
why I
would
imagine
always
Anal beads in the movie if he's so method. Where were they?
Natalie Portman's character sending the cast members of the movie that she's in this a box of shit over and over again, being like, "That's what."
I think he would get like a pie that would explode or something like that. Like that.
Yeah,
would
or
make
a
sense.
smiling fish. Smiling fish is right there.
Well, he
Come
said-
on.
Jared Leto said on the Suicide Squad, like, use condoms to people too. And it's
Yeah,
like,
that-
No, Joker doesn't
that's
do that.
illegal.
It's smiling
That's a
fish.
felony. You can't do that. You can't mail somebody
Like
use
there
condoms.
are actors who go who transform themselves into the role, but they don't go full method. They just
Yeah.
transform. They know when cut to go back. That's fine. But when you're trying to be that person or act like the character you're portraying, especially if they're disabled like Morbius was, I'm like, oh my god, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. It's an insult.
It's Morbius. It's not.
We also have to throw out there that like Jared Leto is all about the method acting and he's also a cult leader. So like, you know, put 2 and 2 together, guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we just
Shia
talked
LaBeouf
about
also did method for Lawless, which I never recommend the movie Lawless, but I recommend the soundtrack. So there you go, people. Go get the
We
soundtrack.
just talked about the exact opposite technique, I guess, with Lily Gladstone, saying like she only has so much that she can actually pour into something like Killers of the Flower Moon. It's such a long movie, and she
You have to take care of yourself.
in it. So she was like, when I was off, like I was just like I had to be me. Like I had to go among like, you know, the different tribal, because there's like 200 tribes they said represented on set on Killers of the Flower Moon. She had to
Sounds
enjoy
amazing.
herself. She had to joke around and prank Leonardo DiCaprio or whatever, and like be like, oh, I got you.
Not actually 17.
So she had to do all these different things to pull herself out of this character, or she said she would end up burning through like, you know, the despair of the role too fast. And then
Well, and I think that's what's so interesting about like, you know, Natalie Portman's character, like definitely has like a bit of that narcissism in her as well that just gets pulled out of her as she's method acting, you know, as Gracie. It's like, you know, and she says that she admires all of these things, you know. Our culture really like puts psychopaths and really like narcissistic people at like on a big old pedestal without calling it that. They call it ambitious or getting what you want, hashtag girl boss, whatever. And like, and so when, you know, you have someone who just is like, I want to be exactly like this person, whether it's for a role or whether it's because they're trying to actually be more like that person in their real life, it's like you just end up mirroring the most toxic surface level traits of that person, but you can't really get into their head. You don't know about all of the cogs that are turning behind the scenes. And that's what's so very interesting, and kind of like back to the point that I made at the top of the show is like Gracie paints herself as this real victim. She manipulates everyone around her. She's super fucking passive aggressive. Abusers never stop abusing. But it also like it just challenges you to think about like what we're watching is an act. So it's actors watching actors watching actors.
Right. And most of the actors who were voting did not like what they saw. Exactly. It hit a little close to home, and they were like,
meta. It's too meta.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's what it all comes down to is like, you know, how responsible is it to meddle in people's lives when those people are
and that's what the point is, and that's why this is so much more interesting of a movie than again the straight biopic presented by the biopic industrial complex would have been, like by a pretty large margin. No other movies mentioned.
It also feels like almost like an inverse of Black Swan, well, because in Black Swan she's the one that loses it, right? She's the one in that position of power.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
She's the one that you're watching all of this through. And then Mila Kunis is kind of like her character, right? Like Mila Kunis in that movie is kind of the audience corollary or whatever, right? That comes in as a new person, and then you
Mhm.
get to see this world through Mila Kunis's eyes as she descends into madness around Mila Kunis. In this movie, it feels like Julianne Moore is the one in that position of power, who you're kind of seeing this woman's world through the eyes of Natalie Portman. In both movies, both characters are these like not the most reliable narrators, but like it feels like in this movie, Natalie Portman gets to play the other role and be like the Mila Kunis kind of corollary.
I would also compare this a bit to another Natalie Portman role in Leon the Professional, which has a very weird. It's not really a love story. Like it goes right up to that line and doesn't quite cross it, but god damn, is it uncomfortable?
Very uncomfortable movie.
Yeah. With some very cool scenes in it.
Oh, fantastic! I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's a very good movie.
No.
It's just
and it's got a white guy doing a Jamaican accent too.
Yes, it does.
I had one.
Oh,
clip
let me get one more thing in. We've mentioned this in the past with biopics, especially too, of like when you have, this got the okay from the family, right? And so like this is the biopic that has like, or this happens in documentary shit, the Big Star documentary. It never once mentions that the bro was gay as the day is long. Never, not once, because his family was religious and the family didn't want it. But certain situations that can, obviously there's certain things they don't want said and stuff along those lines, right? And so that's yet another reason why the biopic is a terrible genre that occasionally can produce, even a blind chick can find a kernel of corn now and again. That this is much more interesting way to approach that, because you get the broad strokes of the story and then also you get to light up a different kind of predatory action. And that makes it special. That makes it unique. And that makes it a work of art rather than a work of the Lifetime channel. Thank you.
Well, and that brings up a really good point, Conan, about kind of Billy Falau came out with his statement about how he didn't approve of this movie and how he felt like it was so ripped off from his story a lot. And it's morally dubious, right? Because I agree with what you're saying. If it were like a straight biopic about exactly what happened and he were more involved with that, giving his kind of side of that story, it would just be a completely different movie. And, and maybe we do want to understand more of his perspective now that he has had time to really reflect on things. But I just don't think that it would be necessarily the kind of artistic statement that Todd Haynes is so known for. So but it also is like one of those things where it's morally dubious because it's like, well, it's his life and he's already not had a say in his own life.
And they can still make that movie. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like, again, there's more.
It's just not this movie. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's not what this movie's trying to do.
Did we all just not describe a story where we knew a teacher who had relations with a student? I mean, come on. That could be anybody.
Yeah, I don't know any pet store
story.
Right. Well, even they made that was a Rooney Mara that had like about that. I mean, there's a lot of those kinds of stories, and there's a million ways that you can approach it. But I think salacious, which is one of my favorite words, by the way, is I love that everybody uses stuff like salacious because it's salacious. It's like
That's my favorite Star Wars character.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Well, and it
salacious grumph. Yeah.
It feels almost like these stories are almost like martyrs, I guess, to the psychopathic narcissistic culture that we've come up with, where people are kind of just bored, and if you don't give them, if you're not constantly giving them stimulation as like something that they can voyeuristically attach to, like society, I think, will be far more chaotic. So it's like something like a tabloid, which like think about another thing that a tabloid gave us, fucking Donald Trump. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's another person whose name couldn't stay out of the fucking tabloids. But like we voyeuristically
famous for being famous at that point.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
And we voyeuristically consume these people, like these people's lives, so that we don't descend into madness ourselves. I think in some ways. I mean, I like maybe not me because I'm not a tabloid.
Because you're built different, right?
Yeah. But
not in the tabloids, Forrest. That's not what I heard.
in a guy who likes tabloid magazine.
Yeah, exactly. That's got the new mag. It's actually a TikTok account.
But I one thing that I wanted to bring into this though is the list that she has throughout this.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And so there's a clip of Julianne Moore, I guess, is the one that actually like came up with the idea of a list because she wanted something that Natalie Portman could easily latch onto when she's going into playing her character and transforms into her.
Yeah.
So this is them talking about it. They're very interesting because I think they're two like actresses like so far into their peak of their craft, right? That their collaboration with each other is like kind of fascinating.
My name is Natalie Portman.
My name is Julianne Moore.
And what is the name of the film that you're here to talk about?
May December. May December came into my life because Jessica Elbaum, who's another one of the producers on the film, sent me the script, and I was blown away by the script. I'd been wanting to work with Todd Haynes forever and sent the script to him, and he took to it. And then he sent it to Julie. I love all of their collaborations. Safe, I like study. It's very important to me.
Making Safe was, I mean, one of the most extraordinary experiences of my film career. And it was really early too. You know, it was the first time that I was the lead in a movie. When I read the script, I'd never seen or read anything like it. And I was desperate to play the part. So I couldn't believe that it wasn't cast. And I got an opportunity to read for Todd. It was a really challenging shoot. It was so quick. It was under $1 million. We shot a lot in like Todd's family's homes, like his uncle's home at the beach, his grandparents' house at Studio City. I wore a lot of his mom's clothes. I loved every minute of it. But also remember when the movie came out, it kind of tanked. Like everyone was like, that's weird.
No way.
Yeah. And it wasn't until much later that people were like, that's a really great movie. So you never know.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
We did not have any rehearsals.
No.
So when she came out that first day in that barbecue scene, I just remember the first time I heard you speak, I was like, oh my God, this is so brilliant. She has this very particular voice and kind of speech pattern
I made a vocal choice.
She made a vocal choice. That's so amazing.
Vocal choice was not in the script. The choice was informed by two things. And the first one ultimately was that I needed to have some things that Natalie could copy. And I needed them to be concrete. And Todd and I talked about that. Gracie's presentation and her view of herself is very, she's hyper feminine and very genderized and also childlike. And so I started thinking about the things that could manifest that. And one of them was this idea of her speech being having a lisp, which is something that we kind of attribute to children. And I thought it'd be an interesting thing for Natalie to then have that to work with. And I called Todd and asked him about it. And so we were like, okay, let's do that. And these kind of like very feminine gestures and, you know, all that. So
my first red carpet outfit was a Betsy Johnson dress, black, that I had worn to a bat mitzvah. And over it, my mom got me a fake fur cow print jacket.
Oh, come on.
White with black
so
spots.
cute.
And I slicked my hair back, like the wet look. It was very 90s.
Yeah.
It was good in 90s.
Julie, do you ever get starstruck?
Yeah. Well, the first time I met Robert Redford at Sundance, I was totally starstruck. And there's actually a photo of me, like with my mouth hanging open next to him. I think I was a juror there and he was there. And literally a girlfriend of mine sent it to me because I'm like,
Today is your birthday, Julie.
It
Happy
is.
birthday!
Thank you. Tell us, what was your favorite thing you ever did on your birthday?
I had a birthday that was kind of amazing. And actually, this is good in a Barbie year to talk about this. But there was a year when a doll came, her name was PJ, came out. PJ had red hair and she was English and she talked. I got PJ for my 10th birthday and I opened her up before I went to school. I still can remember what she looked like and her red side ponytail. And I was really upset that PJ wasn't featured in the Barbie movie.
That's like the only character that wasn't.
We need more redhead representation, even in Barbie land.
Well, we had Midge, so.
That's true. We did have Midge.
That's
She
a
was
pretty
weird.
adorable hangout, by the way. I must say that's
right.
Awesome. Yeah,
I love them.
It's interesting that Natalie Portman got the script and then sent it to Todd Haynes, and not the other way around.
Yeah. You think it'd be the other way around?
And again, this is where it was like, well, why didn't she send it to a female director instead? She hates working with. She keeps bitching up, and I'm like, oh my God, guys, please just stop.
I know.
Right.
Film Twitter's
Now,
gonna kill
is
me.
this the first time Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore have worked together?
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty sure.
so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because like they, you know, like when I first saw the pairing of the two of them, I'm like, oh, I don't recall that. But they
I can't
look
believe
like
it took that long because I feel like they're very cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and it's I mean, it's one of those things where when I heard about this without knowing anything about it, I was like, oh, new Todd Haynes movie with Julianne Moore. Cool. I was like, and Natalie Portman. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Which makes it even more like interesting that she's the one that's like Todd Haynes, Julianne Moore. Like I'm almost casting this movie. Like she's doing the producer role.
Look, respect the hustle, kid. You know, that's like good for her. It's called Moxie.
Got what the kids these
She's
days
got
call
it. Knows what she wants. She wants.
I mean, it's
a
rare.
hit picture.
It's rare that you get to a point, I think, in your career where you can be the one that kind of sends the scripts around. There's not that many people, I think, that are in that level of the A-list, but like she's definitely one of the few. I mean, I don't know. She killed it in Annihilation. We talked about that.
Yeah, Annihilation's great. It's a great movie. And again, you see, well, we talked about this a bunch. I mean, with 12 Monkeys, right? Going all the way back to like, both Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt wanting to like take serious roles on and like do serious business roles. And with Bruce Willis, it was getting away from Die Hard, which again, it was like, oh no, that's the guy from Moonlighting. There's no way he could be an action star.
Then he proved he could be an action star.
And then they only wanted action movies. Like, no, and he's like, no, I can actually act though. Like, let me do that too. And there's lots of some of my favorite movies are those transitional kind of like somebody trying to having to step it up, right? Having to step it up in a way where it's, I didn't expect that. Okay, so perfect example. I was wrong about Colin Farrell, right?
Yeah.
He was in a run of like 3 movies. I'm like, he's amazing in different ways in all of these movies. And I just charted him as like, he's a himbo, whatever. He's
Can't
fine.
wait for the Penguin show. That's gonna be good.
But I was
the only good thing about the Batman movie.
I was thinking about the Bruce Willis thing though. As you said that, I was like, Bruce Willis. There's no way that he could play a boxer that is supposed to throw a fight and then chooses not to and accidentally kills his opponent and then has to go back to his girlfriend who wants oral pleasure and then he goes into the thing and gets raped by a guy in a basement in the thing and then he has to save the guy that he owes money to. There's no way he could be that guy. And then it's like, he was.
Oh wow.
You guys, I've been listening to some people who have said that they think that this is Natalie Portman's best performance. Do you agree?
Post Black Swan.
She's really good in Black Swan, but again, so we went into this, I'm glad we did, about how hard it is to play a bad actor, a bad actress, and then who is attempting to be better by watching someone who is not, in fact, an acting professional, but an acting professional. That like the depths to that is like, that's impressive. And like she's just as sharky as she is, when it comes down to it. And that's like, I don't know. There's something there that like it's impressive, and again, it's nomination worthy, and even though it wasn't nominated,
So I guess the question is whether or not you feel that is harder to act or make someone question reality without realizing you're questioning reality, kind of create a false narrative I don't know, that I feel like they're equally hard from an actress point of view.
Yeah.
Like the script has really got to help you to do Black Swan. You can't do that. Whereas with this one, I could maybe make that leap with a bad script.
Yeah, she's also good in V for Vendetta. People forget all about that movie, right? Because
how dare you give us a third option?
Personally, my favorite Natalie role was her skit on SNL when she rapped. But I think it was a very close second.
Just when her head was shaved, I was like,
that's the wild. Did anybody? Was that a Jackie Onassis movie any good? I never saw it. I forgot it.
Yeah, it was fine.
Her accent was point.
Okay.
Yeah, but everything
I'm pretty sure that's another movie I saw.
Didn't she? For Jackie?
At the gym, like during like
I don't know. Forrest trying to tell a story about the gym. I didn't hear what you said.
I'm pretty sure that's one of those movies that like I went in and out of a little bit.
The Jackie movie. I think it's just called Jackie, right?
Yeah.
I'm
still waiting for the Jackie movie.
There it is. Okay. So I love the lisp. I think that's a great little thing to be thrown in. And then when you see Natalie Portman persona her and then she starts doing it too, I'm totally here for that. And it's so subtle that like you're because at first you're just like, what's happening there with her method of speech? Like what's occurring?
and it goes in and out of it too.
Because it's not right. Exactly. It's not as crazy as like in the Holdovers where like in a few scenes like the glass eye like changes. The odd eye changes sides, which they actually did do, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But like it is something where, like, it's something to kind of stumble over. It, again, adds to the unease. And then like when she starts mirroring her on that, then like you notice it because there's something to pick up on. And I think that's such a cool. Well, I mean, Julianne Moore's a badass. Like, so of course she's gonna pull out some badass.
She does
stuff.
a lot of, even in movies that are not good, like Chloe, she does a phenomenal job.
She's great. Yeah, she's even
good at everything she does.
Even when it's bad movies, she's usually the best part of it.
Like the sequel to a certain great movie from the 90s that's where she was a recast for.
You talking about the being Clarice?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, she was definitely the best part of that.
Yeah.
That's right. I would have won that movie trivia. Thank you.
The only scene that's memorable is when Ray Liotta's head is cut off. Like, that's it.
Second Conan Neutron, the Chica Friends record, concept record about Hannibal Lecter and the world around him. Art of Murder. Copies not available on vinyl, out of print.
I did that for a reason, Conan.
I was kind of thinking about James Gandolfini's Tony Soprano performance, where every season he decided to make the list more intense. Like his
Oh, sure.
So like by the sixth season, like you can barely understand half of what he's fucking saying because he's like, "Look over there, I'm fucking up over there." And it's like he has like such a fucking Tony Soprano voice, so dramatic. Because if you watch the first season of The Sopranos, he barely has it, and that's kind of how I felt with Julianne Moore's performance. Because when she gets upset in this, like it's almost like a manipulative tactic. When she gets upset, you hear the fucking
That's what I wanted to say. It feels like she becomes a baby. When she has all the power, she pretends to put on this little baby voice. It's like she goes belly up and she makes him tend to her in such a strange way. And also, I think of course, we like that she does the impression well because that's everyone's favorite part of any biopic is when the actor does an impression well. And in this one, we get it inside the movie.
Yeah, no, and but it's devastating, right? It's devastating in the way that it's a meta contextual experience, and that's one of the reasons why it's so badass and it's so great. But like, why again, certain parties are not going to be inclined to give it the time of day,
Yeah,
which isn't fair, but it's true.
Actors.
I was acting.
Actors that are also pedophiles they're like, oh man, they're going after actors and pedophiles in this movie. I'm two of those things.
Well, do you know what? So here's an interesting thing I just found out.
There goes monetization for this episode. Sorry, Katie.
No. Kevin Spacey has a movie that's coming out at the end of March.
No.
What?
No.
Is it a biopic?
No, it is a movie that was filmed in 2020 and got shelved for a year, got finished in 2022, and they've been waiting just a little bit longer because he got acquitted on all 9 charges in the UK, and he's officially
acquitted because all the witnesses died.
Yes.
Yeah, which is kind of weird. But you know who's still alive?
All right, get Todd Haynes to make a movie about all of that
Anthony
stuff.
Rapp's still alive though.
I had a role for Kevin Spacey. I wanted to ship Kevin Spacey to Israel and make him do a biopic about Netanyahu, where they have the same comb over and shit. Like,
he almost did a Gore Vidal one. It got canceled off of Netflix. He was going to play Gore Vidal.
Boy,
I'm
an atheist, but every once in a while, I think someone's looking out for us.
I wanted to say that this goes back to what Andy had said about like, so do we allow for redemption?
Yeah.
Do we watch this Kevin Spacey movie, or do we feel like what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's got I think it's got Elvis's daughter in it too.
He was still working.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. I'll look. Hold on.
God, that would be bad for her.
He was still working, I think, when he was on trial. He went to Serbia, which like our sponsors, but they were hiring him to
Serbia, you say?
Serbian tourism board.
That makes me thirsty for some yabiga.
They like some of like the more far right elements in Serbia, I think, were hiring him to like play these biopic roles at one point in
Were they washing like mafia money? Is that
yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure JG Michael posted about that, and I was reading like an article that he posted about that at one point.
I missed that.
I can't wait for the Woody Allen biopic. That should be interesting.
Kevin Spacey plays Woody Allen.
Oh my god.
No,
Stop.
no.
Directed by Roman Polanski. Boom, got it.
Oh, no.
Thank you, good night.
I had a feeling Conan was going to say that too.
You do like a movie about the friendship between Woody Allen and Roman Polanski.
Yes.
And
God. And Bryan Singer.
You have one of them
Sure,
played
get him
by
in there, too.
fucking Kevin Spacey, and the other one played by James Franco.
Wait, the woman prostitute.
It's called the worst movie you've ever heard.
It doesn't have like Kylie in it. I was wrong. It has Rebecca De Mornay.
Yeah, wasn't she the prostitute in Risky Business?
Amongst many things, yes.
Yeah, that's just what
We usually say sex worker, but okay, prostitute. I see where you're going.
We usually say dangerous job.
Rebecca De Mornay, actually, fun thing about
turned out, by the way.
Fun thing about her, she was, I think, the best part of the Stephen King The Shining. Like that. Remember the one with the guy from Wings that came out as a miniseries?
Oh yeah.
Rebecca De Mornay as the I can't remember the character's name, but the wife character played by Shelley Duvall in the original one.
Hi, I'm Shelley Duvall.
Way closer to the source material, which the whole book was in general. That miniseries was closer to source material, which goes to show you that it doesn't have to be closer to the source material to be good.
You know, this movie would make a really good play too. Not a musical, but like an actual play.
I think so.
Just to go
Imagine
deeper.
Because of how intimate
Conan, are you gonna write
it's
the
a
musical?
small, intimate cast.
She's an actor
I
for
like
the screen. The screen,
comment.
played by an actress from the screen, who is now playing as an actress on the stage.
Yeah.
I like the Fred Flintstone plays Kevin Spacey playing Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
Oh, layers like an
Pitch
onion.
it. Pitch it.
Wilma. No, Fred Flintstone plays Kevin Spacey playing the House of Cards voice thing that he does. He's like,
Oh,
Wilma.
God.
He's like, Wilma. Where are you, Wilma? Yabba dabba doo.
I hate that voice.
Oh.
And Tucker Carlson plays Barney.
No.
Okay, this is why we have an after party, everyone.
Yeah.
Unsubscribe.
Okay, yeah, that movie looks terrible. Okay, I looked at it. I have to close this tab. I can't.
No, yeah, you look at it. It's for later.
Yeah, I can't even with that. we can kick off the after party with that before we do everyone's picks. Hey, are we doing Letterboxd one-liners? What we doing?
Yeah, I just
What's
pulled
happening?
them up.
Great. So, Letterboxd, of course, they place 4 film lovers who talk at and to each other about the movies that they love, maybe the movies that they didn't love, the movies they felt very awkward watching with their family.
Oh.
Or they soon with some lesbian love story.
And of course, all of this, everyone gets to have their say. It's a bottom-up democracy. Not the Siskel's and Eberts of the world having their say. Everyone gets to chime in, and it's best expressed succinctly, keeping it succinct. And these are the ones that we pull and put up on the show so that we can react to them. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for May December. Let's go. Dad, don't kill my vibe.
Dad, don't kill my vibe. Dad, don't kill my vibe. I'm a sinner who's probably gonna sin again.
There you go. There you go. Best thing I've seen in a movie all year is when that high school kid jumps up to touch the door frame in order to impress Natalie Portman.
You know what? I would have done the same thing in high school.
Yeah, they also they have like I love that her high school is extremely like diverse. So they have like these two like black kids talking, and they look at Natalie Portman, and they have like this group of like stoner white kids, and they all look at Natalie Portman, and it's like the most like diverse groups of people you ever see to be like everybody knows who this is. I felt like they did that well.
Yeah, exactly.
Natalie Portman unites us all.
This gives me flashbacks to when I was 15 in a French class, and our 50-year-old teacher could not stop explaining how beautiful Brigitte Macron's relationship was.
Oh my god.
No.
That's right.
Now he is the president of France, and his relationship with his teacher, you know, that it developed into a flowering love.
It's 50-year-old French teacher catnip. Well, that was a weird choice for a date movie. Let me tell you that.
Oh my god.
Oh no! Wait, I want to know if that was a first date. I wish we could ask.
It's a last date. I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah.
I have so many questions. I'm gonna
Try
like,
getting a boner now.
That's what I call a January-February relationship.
Can I say that I actually did go see the Cronenberg Crash on a date, and that is a much more safe date choice than May December.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would call this October November.
October.
You reach over, you're holding hands at the beginning of the movie, and you just let go of each other's hands real fast.
Yeah.
It's a little sweaty.
When Charles Melton took it off his shirt and had a little paunch instead of an 8-pack, I became the cartoon wolf that says "Awooga."
Oh, you guys,
hell yeah.
relatable content.
I
Let
was
me
like,
tell
wow,
you.
look at that. A real man right there.
Relatable.
He didn't dehydrate, which is
Oh my
like,
god,
if you
yeah,
dehydrate-
that's the key to the ab. You got to
Yeah,
dehydrate,
yeah.
do like 100 like push-ups beforehand. Drink some Diet
Yeah,
Coke.
if he dehydrates, he's like going to be doing a Marvel movie next.
Yeah.
No.
It's
I like a hydrated man.
Stay hydrated.
It's crazy though, because like it's two really gifted women at like the top of their game in this movie, right? Like, and that's what so much of your focus is on. But like the performance that Charles Melton gives in this is so emotional and nuanced, and like it almost feels like he gets overshadowed by like this torrential fucking storm, like hurricane going on above him. And it's like, yeah, but buddy, like I liked your performance too.
I mean, all three of them should have been nominated. Let's be clear, but
True.
He doesn't even get to be on the cover.
that's true. I need to talk to someone about this immediately.
Maybe I would suggest a therapist.
Podcast, Becky Rice.
Yeah, that's
Get
why.
on our Discord.
That's Becky Rice, who's coming on the show
Someone
for.
put this link in her comments so that she can talk to us about it.
Oh, well, she's coming on.
She's coming out for
hell
Little
yeah.
Women, Lauren. Which we may. We have to have you on for that, I guess, because that's you're the chief Greta Gerwig correspondent.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. Not party without me.
And then we can have an after party where she can actually talk to you about May December.
I would love that.
Yeah, because
Kevin Spacey stars in Little Women.
There you go. There you go.
She is the littlest woman.
Will Ferrell producer credit jump scare.
Yeah,
Oh my God, we
this
talked
is
about this.
Yeah.
maybe that's why this was in comedy though. Like this is Gloria Sanchez, fucking Will Ferrell, and Adam McKay's company, which I guess Adam McKay is now off doing his own thing because they broke up. Bad breakup, but
Now we got bad blood.
but it was really funny. Like thinking like Gloria Sanchez, I know that what the company is, and then I look down. There's like 10 producers on this, and the last one was just like Will Ferrell, and it's like, oh man.
Producer credit on Will Ferrell. That's pretty much.
Does
what
Will
they do
Ferrell
these
know
days.
that he produced this movie? I don't know if he knows.
Has
I don't
anyone
think
told
it's
us?
fair.
He probably gave like $5 to contribute because that's really what a lot of producers do. They help fund the movie, so he probably contributed a little bit of money for it.
Yeah, well, like I think the company that he he runs or whatever that he gets, I think they're just like a self-sustaining company at this point.
Yeah.
I doubt he needs to go to the office every day. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm dealing with crazy people. That's his one line. He gets his cameo in this.
Wanted to crawl out of my own skin for basically the entire runtime.
Yeah.
It was not done by the Sadfi brothers, but it could have been.
True.
I'm surprised Charles Melton didn't crawl out of his skin by the end of this. I just felt like that was what I expected him to do.
You just walk around scadeless, go, God, I feel so much better.
I'm
I
a
love
butterfly.
comments like this one-liner though, you guys, because it's like I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. 4.5 stars. I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, relatable again. There you go. So those are Letterboxd one-liners for May December. Please follow our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, where we're posting up stories of all the many movies that we cover on this very show, and you can read all about it and interact with us and all those things. You can also follow your host there. Ugh, this is harder in this view. at Always Flacco. He's not even going to try with this one as far as being funny is what he's talking about. But
as far as coming up with a pun, I was like, I'm not going to try to.
I get it, and I respect it. So he's logging all the stuff on Letterboxd over there that we're watching for the show and beyond. I, of course, am Salacious Grumph. I did change it. I told you I was going to change it. At Conan Neutron on Letterboxd, you can follow me along for the Criterion Challenge.
Make America salacious again.
Doing the highbrow, the midbrow, the populist fare, all that stuff. Film school dropouts. Probably not going to be furiously logging as much stuff in the coming weeks, but I think I'm pretty consistent. I don't know. I like to think so anyway. I'm Kristina. June, January over there. She's on Letterboxd. She pops on now and again when it suits her, and no other time. But you can follow her as well. J. Andrew World, July is at right about now too, watching all the weirdest stuff. So you don't have to, or maybe you can.
Oh, trust me, I don't.
I love it.
Jeez, harsh. So harsh. I interrupted my spiel. You watch all the weird stuff, so you don't have to. Maybe you can't. Not for me to judge. He's doing it either way. So I think there's still a lot of Doctor Who in the mix, but I've noticed some other stuff that's not Doctor Who episodes.
Is he how you found out about So Many Beavers?
Weirdly, no. I found out about So Many Beavers, and I was like, this is the most J. Andrew World movie ever in the Discord, which we'll get to. So, yeah. Credit where credit's due. Let the record show. KT is at Movie Runtime on, what is it? The
TikTok.
Tic Tac. She's on the Tic Tacs at Movie Runtime.
Artist formerly known as Musically.
But it's Little Deadly Creature, I think, right? Or is it KT Zombie Hunter on Letterboxd? Well, you have a Letterboxd thing. It's great.
It's Little Deadly Creature on Letterboxd.
But
if you're on Movie Runtime, the link in bio goes and shows you all of this stuff.
Right. But if you don't know what that is, then you can just do what I said. So Uncle Alligator is going to need to have his assistant log into it. You know what I mean? Lauren, oh my God. Gee, that's really hard to do. I don't know why. Why do I still do that? That's dumb. Yeah. It's the dumbest thing to do when there's a back panel. Lauren is one of my oldest Letterboxd friends at Lonely Goat
I love
Herd.
that fact about us.
Yeah. And she made hot dogs for everyone. You can follow her on there. Always a great follow because she has great taste, and that's why
I've seen everything.
She's seen a lot of the movies, folks. That's what it comes down to. I think we got a word from our sponsor, and then we'll hit it with the plugs, right?
Tonight's podcast is brought to you by Jebiga, a Balkan Rakia spirit plum brandy that brings Serbia to the American shores in an authentic and appreciative way. Care of Billy Gould, bassist for Faith No More, and Rakia Appreciator. Rakia is a traditional spirit enjoyed at weddings, funerals, and life events. However, more and more it's being enjoyed everywhere on a night out with friends or as a casual drink. Get a bottle today in liquor stores and bars across America. Go to yabiga.com to see where it's available near you.
There you go. I think I might actually see him at our show in San Francisco. We'll see.
Nice. Try to get us all some Yabiga.
Oh yeah, it's a good idea. July. Give us the plugs, why don't you?
All right. If you're watching us on YouTube, please do those YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell. And of course, the big ask, because we serve the algorithm, watch the video to the end. That allows us to be discovered by other movie fans, but that allows you to get to hear that great Conan Neutron song.
That's right.
If you're over on Twitch, you can do the Twitch things. Throw us a sub. And the big thing about Twitch is if you happen to have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free. Doesn't cost you anything, but actually does help out the show. So thank you for doing things like that. Find us on social media. We're on Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook, Instagram, and I guess we're still on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it practically is Truth Social at this point.
I've talked plenty about the topic. I will say no more.
Yes,
but I agree. We are on all the things that are scrolling beneath us.
But yeah, find us whichever social media site of your choice. Find us, say hi, and we'll say hi back.
We're probably at least partially on it.
Yes. Join our Discord. Like it's hopping right now, and it's a lot of fun.
So hot.
So hot right now.
Coming in hot.
Yeah, I share alligator pictures. It's great.
I think Uncle Alligator needs his own channel. He needs his own channel to speak on this show. Thank you.
Just Uncle Alligator memes, and that'll be it.
Yeah, there's enough of them.
Yeah. No, I steal them mostly from Gators Daily on Twitter, which
Wow.
Gators Daily. That's my office, kid.
which honestly is a great account. If you're on Twitter, I'm going to plug it. Follow Gators Daily.
It's already done.
Your Uncle Alligator gets a piece of the action.
And of course, if you actually want to directly support the channel, we have a Patreon. The Patreon allows you to get access to our after parties, which we do give them away for free when they're live. But after they're live, you can't see it again unless you become a member. So join. You can see other people's takes on their picks for the Oscars, and you can also see us go completely off subject and talk about weird stuff.
Right. Kristina and I are producing this month, so we're being very militant. It's very there's going to be no farting around this time. No astonishing talking birds tonight. We're going to stay on topic. Maybe a little bit. We'll see.
Maybe a little. Yeah.
But we're gonna have. I think tonight we're doing KT's and Lauren's Oscar picks. Right? Are we doing that?
You're gonna want to stick around because I got some hot takes, you guys.
Yes,
I'm waiting for it.
That's what we're all.
She's picking people not even nominated.
I'm voting on my conscience, not a
well, because that's
conscience.
And what we're doing is we're doing who we think will win and who we would have would like to win. Yeah, exactly.
So it's going to be Gilda all the way down.
It's Golda, but sure.
Gilda.
Yeah. It's Gilda too.
No,
Why?
it's Gilda Radner. She's nominated in my heart all the awards.
Best actress, Gilda Radner. What
Gilda
a talent.
Radner.
What a dame.
Bless her heart.
And
posthumous.
Okay.
Sorry, that really just came at you.
Uncle Alligator, please. Andy's trying to do the plugs.
Yes.
How dare you?
Especially those Conan's plugs that we're going to do, because he's up there killing it on Protonic Reversal. Just amazing, guest after amazing guest.
That's right. There's a lot of them. They're really good, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, they're coming out 2 a week, and I can't even keep up with it. I can't remember who was on that recently.
Okay, so I just had Norm Westberg of Swans on yesterday.
Nice.
And before that was Steve Turner of Mudhoney, which was fantastic. And then Steve Hodson of USA Nails before that.
Nice.
And Peter Prescott of Mission or Burma before that. And that's like a 1 week period. So I'm going to be on tour. So that's not going to be keeping up for the next 2 weeks. But there's a lot of reasons to care about Protonic Reversal, which of course is the thing behind me if you're looking at this visually.
Absolutely.
Dude.
And of course, if you want to support Protonic Reversal, you can go over to Patreon and hop on the Patreon there. It's $1 a month, people, and you get access to these episodes early.
I'm once again asking you to contribute $1 to Protonic Reversal.
And of course, Conan's been hinting at it all night, but he's part of a band called Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends. We're going out on tour.
That's right. Boom! There it is.
I'm going to fake sick from my Little Shop of Horrors rehearsal to come see you in San Francisco.
No way, that would rule. Because I thought we were going to play Santa Cruz when we got added to the LA show, and it's like, oh, that's probably going to be way better for a Monday.
Oh yeah, no, the LA show is going to be lit, but I'm definitely going to want to come up to San Francisco. So on the 5th, unless you're in my cast, you didn't hear this, but yeah, I'll be sick that day.
Parody. I'm just stoked that there's someone, I think from Kristina's Twitch, I can't remember who, someone is coming to the Bakersfield show, which I was like, oh, that's great.
Hell yeah.
Oh, Maddie, yeah, one of my mods. They're cool.
That's right. Yeah, it was Maddie. But I'm from the Central Valley, and this is the first time Secret Friends ever played Bakersfield, so it should be a good show. Should be a good time.
Hell yeah.
All right.
NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com, of course, for the records.
If you can't make it to the show, go there and get some music, because there's lots of great stuff there, including the albums we mentioned tonight.
That's right. Yeah. I got in more plugs than the plugs, and it was naturalistic in the conversation too. So that's the best kind of plugs.
Oh, damn.
Instead of people just disassociating for 10 minutes when we do this.
So go back and listen to this episode, and then buy all the albums that Conan mentioned.
Right, in order, and show your work.
Yes.
Do your homework. How many albums? How many albums did Conan mention? All of them.
Yeah. It's like the Train Problem, but with records.
And
Thank you. Anyway, the Train Problem, everybody. That kills on Ben Burgess's show.
Yes. The famous Train Problem.
Yep. People talk about the trolley problem, but need to be talking about the train problem.
Take it to Cleveland.
And Kristina is over there.
Yeah, just move on, please. Yeah.
Yes. Kristina's over on Twitch and now on YouTube.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Cool.
So you have anything coming up this week?
Just gonna stream, gonna chill, we're gonna vibe, go over some stuff, news of the week. Also, if y'all are in my Discord, we are doing a rewatch of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We're almost done with season 4, and we started Thursday, Friday, something like that. I'm losing track of time.
Are you doing like one a day or something, or what's the?
We're almost doing like a season and a half a day.
Wow.
God damn.
That's a lot of time.
That's
on the internet.
impressive.
Yeah, we just got done watching like this like Sweet D has a heart attack, where they paid tribute to One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and yeah, that was a good episode.
I don't think I can handle that. But yeah, if you want to get,
you can, you should go to Kristina's Twitch. Where apparently that's happening.
Yeah,
or Discord, whatever it is. That's how he does the plugs. I don't have to think about this.
Exactly. And of course, there's a Patreon as well to support Kristina. Patreon.com/cosmopolitics. And go there, support her. We love her. So
we love our
please,
Kristina. Yes, we do.
See the support.
Show your work once again.
Yes. But post your receipts online.
Exactly.
With your credit card number.
We'll kick you right out of here.
Mother's maiden name.
Exactly. Blood type.
Yeah. What street you grew up
name
on?
Of your, name of your first
scan.
Hometown.
Wow, that show is hardcore, man.
I think they just want to steal our identity.
Yeah, this kind of sounded like they were just getting ready to.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
No,
and of course,
not our show. That'd be like another show. Another show.
Nah.
When you become a patron, you must give us your social security number.
Right.
And the answers to all of your, your questions. Like,
what was your first pet?
Your security question.
No, it's fun. It's a quiz.
Yeah, what street did you grow up
their
on?
authentication code too, because we got to add that on there.
Is that
My mom's maiden name is. What's yours?
Right. What a long form grift that would be. Jesus Christ. I mean, like, talk about 1,000-mile walk in the desert for an ice cream cone. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then the kinds of people that watch, like, movie podcasts from this Sosa, like, the whatever, like, they're like, oh, there's $50 in this guy's account.
Right. It's like, wow, they did 204 episodes and they launched into phase 2, which is apparently petty.
Our audience is living paycheck to paycheck, huh?
Exactly.
Oh yeah, there's a cat.
They were just cosplaying as
My
such a broke-ass
15-year-old
podcaster.
boy.
Like a baby.
He's 15.
What's his name so that we know your security question?
Frankie. But he ain't my first pet though.
Oh.
Right, Andy, continue.
Yes, KT is over there on the Starwell Foundation, of course.
Finally going to listen to on this tour.
Yes.
Yes. Well, they've consolidated it all to one place on Spotify and Apple and all those other stuff, so it's even easier to listen to than ever before.
Exactly. No excuses.
But yeah, so you can check that out. It's superheroes and a I screwed up the pitch already.
Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to just do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Okay.
I
It's
just
a world
said
where
I'm not gonna watch it.
superheroes.
Okay.
No, it's good. It's a world where superheroes exist, and they have a Make-A-Wish Foundation for children to meet superheroes. The children start to ask to meet villains, and our protagonist is in charge of hooking the children up with meeting villains and controlling those situations.
I want to live in that
More
world.
horizons. I get to play one of the villains. I get to play a telepathic Russian villain, and then I also get to play the host of the true crime podcast inside the show.
That's right.
Stop! That sounds amazing.
Yeah, well, you can go to Opinions May Vary, and if that's and get it there, or any of those whatever you get your podcasts from.
Starwell Foundation.
Yes.
Starwell Foundation.
So
Yes.
Look up those words and type it into the Google machine and ask Jeeves about it.
They'll get you.
And of course you can find KT's movie Girl in the Basement on YouTube, which I always like to play. It's a great film.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you just type my name into the Googles, you'll at least get to my Instagram, and that has a Girl in the Basement is right on there, very easy to get to.
I keep asking Jeeves about shit, and Jeeves points me pretty much exclusively to AI art, and then is like, "Why?" Like trying to prompt me to like draw an upper class British man in a nice house, and I'm like, "Jeeves, I'm not gonna do that." Then he's like, and then he's like, "Can you make that British man in a nice house? Make him have a family, kids, and a mistress on the side." And I'm like, "Jeeves, what are you doing? Why are you trying to get me to do all this?"
It's very detail laden. Yeah.
Very detailed.
Bit of a tall ass.
Strange.
Yes, and of course, there's movie Runtime, which y'all should be checking out on TikTok. And
Tic Tac. Go download it now to your PC.
Yes. You get fresh breath and
China's trying to get into America's hive mind through the Tic Tac.
You can download 5G internet from my feed on TikTok through your teeth.
Little boxes made of ticky tacky.
And of course, What If I Don't Like It? Available wherever you get your podcast. Conan was just on, right?
Goddamn right.
Yes, Conan was just on, and we were talking about Moonstruck, and it's the last episode. If you go there right now, that will be the one you see first. It's a nice, juicy, long one. It was super fun.
You tell him to snap out of it.
Yeah. No, I kept telling him that, I lost my hand. I lost my bride.
I lost my hand. I lost my bride. Yeah, Lauren, the conceit of the show is that KT digs up like if there's a genre or like a star or some kind of thing that people don't like, she'll like dig something up for them to
I'm gonna be on it. I'm gonna be on it. I've got a good one coming up.
Good.
It's gonna be juicy.
We can tell him right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll tease it now for the fans.
Exactly.
I hate gore porn and slashers and just like 2000s horror movies, or so I think. And so
okay, Roger Ebert.
Yeah, so Miss KT is going to make me watch
Nice.
Green Inferno.
Green Inferno.
All right. Okay.
I thought you were
This is
saying
an
Human
Eli Roth
Centipede.
one.
Oh God!
I'm just gonna torture the poor girl. Is what,
I'm so scared and so thrilled when I told my partner about it. They were like, "The Bear Jew." Yeah, it's by the Bear Jew.
Nice.
And his wife plays the main character, so it's a really loving gift that he gives her this role. But also, you're like, man, these people I guess they belong married.
It's
Yeah,
a
the Bear
romantic
Jew is.
comedy.
Yeah. It's also a roman. Exactly.
All right. So there you go. So that's coming up.
Yeah.
That's coming up. That should be exciting.
Yeah, Eli Roth really did play the Bear Jew.
The Bear Jew.
It's so fun. I feel like I almost think of that as like two different people.
Yeah.
Knowing full well
really
it was the same person, and having watched his his history of horror movies show.
Yeah.
Like those are two different guys.
It can't possibly be the same dude, right?
Yeah, no, two Eli Roths. Just one's a Bear Jew and the other one's a director.
Yes.
Oh, what is a director if not the Bear Jew of the cinema world?
People are saying
if it was a kingdom, that would be the phylum. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Lauren, you have a play coming up, right? You said Little Shop
I got
Horror?
2 because I'm crazy. I decided that I was going to do an opera and a musical at the same time while also auditioning for a third show. So where you can find me is if you live in the Bay Area and you want to come down to Santa Cruz, have a beach day. It might be raining, but you could still go to the beach if you want to. And then in the evening, come by and see Suora Angelica, a Puccini opera in 1 act. Very accessible for people who have not seen opera before, and lovely for people who are opera connoisseurs. And I have a little featured part there, and it's gonna be beautiful and great, and you should come.
You're living your Fitzcarraldo life.
Yes,
I
I
was
gonna say y'all should have had me on Fitzcarraldo. I had a lot to say. But yeah, so the opera is coming up this weekend, and if you can't make it this weekend on such short notice, that's okay. In 2 to 3 weeks, you can come see me in Little Shop of Horrors, where I'll be playing one of the urchins, and I'll be singing about Skid Row, and that's going to be in Moss Landing. So if you go to @Suburb Survivor, all of the information will be on there where you can come see the show. And then of course I'll be on KT's podcast And I'll probably be back on Movie Night Extravaganza to talk about the Oscars also. So very
Oh,
excited.
that's right. Yes,
My
yes.
dress came in.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hey, welcome.
and
so snazzy.
before we go, I do want to just also say I'm doing a trivia night on Discord tomorrow with like
Oh,
real
that's right.
cash prizes and stuff. So you should come on and do that with me. It's again, if you go to my Instagram, you'll see it. But it's La La Rewards, which is a movie app that rewards you for engaging with them and leaving movie reviews, and you get free movie tickets. They're doing a rom-com trivia night, and I am hosting the trivia along with the Lala Rewards, like the face on TikTok. His name is Tristan. And we're going to give away either the first prize is, oh God, it's that comedy that I forgot. Anything But You? Anyone But You? Is that the name of it?
Is that the one with that just came out now?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're giving away a Blu-ray of that as first place, along with a $25 Fandango gift card, and then enough points to get a free movie ticket.
Now, is that the
Second-
Criterion edition or no? No.
Yes, I believe so. It is. You know.
Oh, wait, somebody posted this thing.
I thought that was still in theaters. How is that out on Blu-ray?
It was-
Anyway, whatever. I don't care. It's fine.
It was Werner Herzog, and this is life is pain of absurdities, and wait, life is a parade of absurdities and pain, and then we die alone in filth. So yes, little girl, I shall buy a box of Thin Mints.
I just want to add, since we've kind of been touching on some very important topics. There is help out there if you are sexually abused. Go to online.rain.org, and you can actually chat with somebody about this online if that's how you want to do it, or you can call the number at 1-800-656-4673. So there is plenty of help if that's not quite how you're being abused. I have a whole list of numbers, but I just wanted to
You don't got to read the whole.
Yeah,
list.
I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to put that out there because I think it's important that this is a very serious issue, and we've had a lot of fun, and we're going to have a lot of fun in just a moment. But I just wanted to just take a moment.
Don't put it that way. Come on, man. we had a lot of fun tonight, but we're gonna have more fun. But before we do,
just
We got final thoughts.
be serious here for a moment and just put that out there.
Yes, thank you for that, Andy. Very important.
All right.
Absolutely.
That has to be it for the plugs, right? Please tell me
Yes.
that's all that
Yes.
is. Okay.
Yes, I don't have anything else.
Great.
Yeah.
you're not gonna read the whole list of numbers. No. Lauren, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. This movie, I don't think it's a camp classic. But I do think that it is a classic. I hope that it will be evaluated and reevaluated and studied in film schools here on out. I think the performances are some of the best for every single person that's in them. And I can't wait to see more Charles Melton.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles
What,
Melton.
full frontal wasn't enough for you?
Charles Melton.
Come
Our
on.
hearts and minds. KT, final thoughts.
Pretty much everything Lauren just said. I think this is an underrated movie. I think if you're doing the Oscar rounds, that you really would be doing yourself a disservice to pass this one over. It's also on Netflix. It's incredibly easy to get. Most people have Netflix, and some really wonderful performances. It's an easy one. Just don't watch it on a date.
Don't watch it on a date.
At least not at, like a first date.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be going on the first day in a few weeks, so maybe I'll take y'all up on that one.
Yeah, exactly. You can
It's a litmus
report back.
test.
Have you
Yeah,
ever
report
seen
back.
May December.
He was so into it. You're like, I had to go.
Okay.
This is just like what happened.
May December.
You're like, this is just like what happened to me when I was in high school. And you're like, oh, all right. Well, I'm stepping into quite a bit here.
What a movie for a date.
All
All right. Who's next? What's up?
right. Kristina, final thoughts.
This film was snubbed. Snubbed, I tell you. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Count
All,
Snubula.
all those actors and pedophiles in the academy, they're like, I can't.
Wait, is this fucking movie about us? Before a moment.
Andy, final thoughts.
Just for the line, this is what adults do. should have gotten Natalie Portman the nomination for Best Supporting
Yes.
Actress.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you know, there are multiple moments like that in the film, but I think that was just one line reading right there was just like such a gut punch.
There's also the same their dynamic, whatever. There's also that one line where she's like, yeah, keep this between you and me or something, and it's like, don't do that tonight to Charles Mountain.
Yeah, and then of course the Julianne Moore, like the one thing we didn't really talk about is how that last scene almost recontextualizes parts of the movie whenever she's like reveals that her she knew all about like her, you know, everything that her son said, which is just like, oh, that hurts. In a way.
Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, it's just oh my god, just those two performances are so good, and probably some of the best of the year. And it's a shame that they're not getting recognized for it.
We did not need Naiad. We did not need it.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch a movie about swimming.
Yeah, Naiad's seen it.
I've done enough swimming.
I'd seen it.
You've seen someone swim once. You've seen them all.
Yeah, I get it.
I swam in high school. I've seen enough swimming. It's too much swimming.
I swim when I want to.
I float. I don't know if I swim. I float though.
We all float down here, kid.
I saw enough swimming in Zone of Interest. There was you know they went canoeing a lot in that movie.
They had the pool in the backyard.
Oh god.
Yeah.
the very large pool that was on the other side of that fence. They had a regular pool. But Conan, final thought.
Yeah, what a setup, boy. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
You don't have to go on before a better act.
We've spoken a lot about this already. This is stylistically impeccable, meticulously acted, just a nuanced, multi-layered, slow boil of a film full of powerful and uncomfortable moments. And I mentioned before, Todd Haynes always seemed to shine when there is an unorthodox domestic situation where someone is cornered or trapped, and that's precisely what this is.
Yes.
And it's unsettling, smart, sadly provocative, if that's a thing. And all the performances are fantastic. It's devastating, hits even harder on second watch. And it's a film that's only grown in my estimation. And I think it's sad and true to form that the Academy snubbed it. And history will vindicate this smart and challenging film.
Yes.
Unlike Julianne Moore's character in it. All right, we're going to jump over to the after party that I already have set up. So I got to send the link.
All right.
All right.
See you there.
See you guys in January, you know, June, January.
January Jones.